I'm 4 man deep in this German. Trying to whip it round the Suburban. What do you think about that? I accidentally typed in plus on my thing. What am I doing? I'm going on YouTube. I haven't streamed in a while, so I'm a very stupid chap. A very stupid chap. Right, we're gonna. I need to go. God, It's like learning to stream again for the first time, and I'm bloody good at it. Oh yeah. I don't know how lit I look. I think I might need another light. What do you guys think? Whoever's here. Hello, 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 hello. Sorry, I'm being a little silly today. You can tell I've not streamed in a while. Sorry, I'm sick. Master Derby. Wow, you're all fucking... You haven't streamed here in a while. We missed you. I haven't streamed in a while. I would have been back earlier, but, you know, family's here. Family's here. And, yeah, all was here and things like that. So, fuck. Oh, yes. I was scared I'd lost my zinnies. We are Charlie Kirk. Very good stuff. Yeah, Charlie Kirk. Chopped plus you got no Labubus. Do I own a Labubu? No, I don't own a Labubu. Well, I don't want you to know whether I own Labubus. That's kind of my business and not your business. Whether I own Labubus or not is not... It's not of your concern, and I suggest you kind of draw back asking me personal questions like that, okay? Chatter, whoever's asked that, I'm sick. I've been waiting to play the fucking Wordle all day, all day. And also, as you can probably tell by my voice, I sound a little sick, because I am. I haven't really been keeping up with the internet. I've just been complaining about being sick. Multitasking, playing games and listening to stream. What are you doing? Hello, Chris Goatler. Hell yeah. Labubu poser. Yeah, I do have some stuff to admit on that, but it's none of your business whether I own a Labubu. Plus, it's like, you know when people have loads of jewelry and they don't want to, like, show it off in public in case they get robbed? The amount of Labubus that I may or may not have would lead to robbery, because there's like 1 trillion Labubus in my possession. I don't know what those words mean. Wamid and Sharky Ahyan. Yeah. Sorry, my keyboard's really gross. And I don't know why. It's got lots of gunk on it. Gunky keyboard. I need to get a new one. I'm going to get a gamer keyboard. But don't call me a Labubu poser, please. Right, I'm going to start with drawn. Don't know why. Okay, grime. I'm going to go for... Okay, yeah, I don't want to show off my Labubu collection. Is it just me or is the microphone quiet? I don't know. Is the microphone quiet? Properties. It shouldn't be that quiet, but maybe it's too far away. Hold on, I'll move it closer. I'm 4 men deep in this German. That should sound a little better. Is that better for you guys? Get wireless portable keyboard. I think I am going to get a wireless keyboard, actually, rather than a wired one. I don't know what this is. Pin or pin. No. I think it's a double. Irony. No, it's not got an N in it. Iro. Nice try, but it doesn't have. It can't be irony. It hasn't got an N. Hidden iron C4P.
It is
Hidden iron
ridiculous.
Kappa. Thanks for becoming a member. I see you've got some iron from Minecraft. Always a great feeling to find that and to see it in the chat. Also, it feels like I'm not seeing anyone in chat, and I don't know why. Yeah, plant collection can be displayed. Labubu collection. Well, I have the world's first KSI Labubu. There's no N. So you think it probably has CK in it? What? So it would be what? X. So IR. Iraq, spelled incorrectly and with... No, it doesn't have an A in it either. I think it is IR, but I'm trying to think of things that begin with IR. You can use the new... incur. No, it doesn't have a CUR. Broil. Seafood broil. No, wait, I was just watching the episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm where he keeps asking for things to be broiled. No, but you did get it, RXI. This has to have another... Is it... Seafood broil in the bag. I'm trying to think of what it is that begins with, that has RUI. But... Oh, wait, it's something really simple, isn't it? It's fruit. Oh. No one was there to tell me the answer. Oh, thank goodness, Chris, before work is back. Yep. I'll have one more day. I'll have one more day off, which is New Year's Eve, and then day after that, and then once we're back next week, we're back full time, baby. Yeah, I got it. There's no one in chat to tell me the answer. Right, we'll try the connections now. You can help me. There's quite a lot of news to cover. Gayest word lever. That was pretty gay. Pretty gay. Opal. Infinity. Stones. Opal stone. Infinity stone. Kidney stone. Equestrian stone. Mini. Mouse. Protein bar. I don't know. I'm really bad at these games. I'm really good at them. You'll better have had a kirked up Christmas. Did you see the people who discovered the prehistoric Kirks? That was unbelievable. It was really good stuff on Twitter. Also, did any of you see... I'm not going to talk about it really on stream. Did any of you see the gene protein cell tissue? Okay, cool. Protein... cell tissue. Did any of you see what they were getting Grok to do the other day, where they were getting it to generate like the most insane things of Elon Musk? The Elon Musk stuff it was generating the other day was wow. Tide Gene Infinity. Wait. Oh no, you thought it was Gene Pool. Infinity Olympic? Oh wait, athletics. Summer Olympic events, very nice. The pool one was a good guess. What it was, they were getting Grok to generate photos of Elon Musk holding up signs saying, "I deserve assassinations" and stuff, which is not okay, and it's totally against YouTube's terms of service, and I can't believe people did that. There was also one where he was covered in a suspicious substance, which I don't know even how to talk about it. Yeah, Truanon was being funny around that. It was just amazing. I've never seen... I don't know how that gets on. Course direction trend... tide? Yeah. Wait, what? I didn't want to share my fucking results. I wanted to go back to the quiz. What were these? Car brand homophones. Opal, Audi, Infinity, Mini. I don't know some of these brands. He was covered in a goo. Yeah, the stuff that was going on there was crazy. Right, we'll do that. Hello, MKMT. Hello, everyone. Time to stop working. You should work and watch me. Watching my stream is almost like work. Audi. I'm after lean. I crashed the Audi. I just spent 200 on this watch piece. Bling. That's one. Dabbing. Wait. Dabbing. Bada Bing? Oh, that's not a word. Vauxhall. Oh, Opal is Vauxhall outside of the UK. Yeah. Wait, Nicki Minaj can't vote. That's crazy. Yeah, blind is one. Blind dad? My dad is blind. Blind dad? That's one. Glib? Gibbo? Gibban? Baggaging. I don't think that's a word. Baba Bing? Bandana is a really good one, yeah. The rules are you just have to create words using all of these, and someone's just got the panagram, but you have to use all of these, and it's like you just have to use the B, but you can only use letters here. And that's all I was allowed to do for the day. It's a shit game. Right, I didn't even set up any memes to look at. Oh wait, there is actually a great genre of memes at the moment, which I can't really show because most of them have copyrighted content. But have any of you seen those things where it's just someone like celebrating massively, and it's just like normal people? I'm sad my husband died, and then it's just Erica Kirk. In fact, it's all my timeline is currently. It is actually so funny that her method of grieving has seemingly just been to just go round and be insane. Yeah. Amazing. Amazing. Really big fan of hers. But, I mean, there's actually a lot of news to cover related to Somalia and such. But, yeah, I haven't really prepped that much today. I've been feeling a bit under the weather, so, yeah. I mean, what? The Egyptian guy. I mean... this is a story in the UK right now. I haven't really read up on it much, but I know the basic premise of what it is. It's basically about this guy, Abdel Fattah, who is like an Egyptian dissident. He was like heavily involved in the Arab Spring. By the way, actually, if you want to know something crazy, the other main figure in the Arab Spring, if you're not Egyptian and you're not familiar with the history of the Middle East, you might not know this guy. This guy is absolutely unbelievable. This guy was like a major figure. He created this website called We Are All Khaled Saeeds. Khaled Saeed was like an Egyptian who was killed and like beaten to death, being dragged from like an internet cafe because I can't remember what he did exactly, but probably something really bad. You know, Egypt's a really fair country in terms of its treatment of dissidents. But anyway, this guy, Wael Ghonim, used to work for, he used to work for Google. I think he was the head of Google Middle East. If you followed him on Twitter recently, or over the last few years, he started posting videos of himself smoking on, like, unknown substances, probably some kind of very hard... you know, things you wouldn't want to be smoking on that pack. And then he started posting nude videos. But he's reformed on Twitter now and he doesn't post that anymore. But his Twitter went through this crazy few period of time. Very odd guy. And I don't think you are banned, Nixon. But yeah. If you were familiar with this guy. Anyway, this guy was also involved. He's not done anything like that. But basically, Downing Street have got him freed from Egyptian torture dungeons, which is objectively a good thing. He's a dual British citizen, and no one deserves to be in Egypt's torture dungeons, but we also shouldn't be supporting them. Smoking on that pack, if you don't mind, if you so will. Yes. But yeah, he is, Wael Ghanim's Twitter's probably deleted. I mean, craziest stuff you could possibly find going over there a few months ago. Don't know why. Someone I knew him, and they.
It is utterly ridiculous.
Have you considered streams were of a higher quality when you had a mustache? Much to consider. I think yours. I think yours, Bonerbox. Wow, good to hear from you, Bonerbox. I loved our debate. It's always good to win friends and influence people. But thanks for the 6 months, Nixon. Fucking amazing you've been here for that long. But yeah, he has some quite funny tweets. Some are quite outrageous. And because of it, people are now calling for him to be redeported to Egyptian torture dungeons, like Nigel Farage and all these people. But like, the tweets are from 13 years ago. Some of them are crazy. Some of them are really just like straight up anti-Semitic. I think there are some anti-Semitic. To play a Jew, you have to have a Polish accent. Playing a North African Jew just doesn't work. It's too complicated for them. Don't know what he's talking about there. He has an incredible tweet. I am racist. I don't like white people. He also is also accused of saying police did not have rights and we should kill them all, and referring to the British as dogs and monkeys. I still don't think that means you deserve to get tortured in the Egyptian torture dungeons by a dictator propped up by the UAE. But yeah, these are old tweets, and I don't think they necessarily mean that you should be stuck there. He has got tweets that are just like advocating murdering police officers, which, you know, are not something I'm going to endorse on here at all. But these are 15-year-old tweets. I'm sorry, I'm just looking into a very weird ChatGPT message that I'm not going to read on stream about Egypt, but yeah. Nigel Farage wants him remigrated, and yeah, I mean, it's a kind of crazy story. Hello, Mediocre. Sorry I'm a little bit sick. I was 15 years ago. I was 10 and 11. I need to message Isaac. Isaac's been trying to message me. He's been trying to chat me up. I'll let you know when I'm done streaming. Also, I saw Marty Supreme on the 27th. It's pretty good. I don't know if anyone have seen it. But yeah, it's pretty good. I really enjoyed Marty Supreme. Second best film I saw this year, probably after One Battle After Another. Yeah, these are Nigel Farage's tweets. I have written to the Home Secretary, Shabana Mahmood, urging her to rescind the citizenship of Ala Abdel Fattah and deport him from the country. I mean, these people were fans of Lucy Connolly, and, like, objectively, like, Nigel Farage brought out Lucy Connolly, who's the lady who encouraged the burning of migrant hotels. And I'm going to be frank, that's worse than anything that people tweeted there, that was tweeted here. But yeah, 10 and 11. No, 15 years ago, I was 10 or 11. So no, I'm 25. Sorry, I'm putting on my jumper. I'm taking off my jumper. I get hot when I'm streaming. I'm sick. Jackie, I'm sick. Why are you talking about Avatar? What is Avatar a critique of settler colonialism? I haven't seen Avatar since, when did Avatar 1 come out? Avatar 1 came out in 2009. My strongest memory of Avatar has nothing to do with the film. All it has to do with is this guy who was watching it with us. Like, well, he wasn't watching us with us. He was just in the cinema, and he just took a phone call and just got up and left. Crazy. But no, I've not seen it. But I did really enjoy becoming a native to save them. Oh, that is really the premises of it, isn't it? And also, they really... I remember I saw this TikToker saying that they were South Sudanese themselves, and they were like, the people in Avatar are just South Sudanese people. Generally, South Sudanese people are very tall, and she was like, our skin is very dark, so it's kind of almost bluish, but I don't know enough about South Sudan. I'm not an expert on race or anything to that effect, so yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, I saw Ethan Klein. That wasn't even the funny Ethan Klein story. The funny Ethan Klein story was the crash out over the tweet. He had a really funny crash out. First of all, he was talking about Hassan's chat of some guy being anti-Semitic in it. Then he was tweeting about Taylor Lorenz. Then there's this one. Which is so funny. Just when you think things are quieting down, you see a post like this with 150k likes. This is why I will never forgive those responsible for spreading these lies, nor will I ever relent in my pursuit of justice against each and every one. I don't care that they called us ugly. I do care that these lunatics are continually putting a target on me and my family's backs during a time of increasing political violence and anti-Semitic attacks. Admittedly, this is a goofy picture of me, but Hila looks stunning. Sorry your unemployed ugly ass never looked this good. I mean, neither of them looks good in the photo at all. They look terrible. Of course they do. I don't know why Hila's looking up and Ethan's looking at the camera at least. But just genuinely, this guy is deranged. Like, he's on his family holiday thinking that this is like somehow like an evil attack against him. When, once again, by the way, this guy has literally apologized for... for his comments that were, like, deeply offensive, which obviously made him look like, you know, a Zionist, because he is one, and has also not apologized for the half of it. By the way, Hen Mazik invented a claim. Hold on. I just want to show you, like, how dangerous... Wasn't there, like, an Ethan Klein tweet of, like, oh, I'm standing with Hen Mazik? Look at this. So this is like how dangerous this Hen Mazik guy that he endorsed, and that Ahmed Fouad Al-Khatib guy, by the way. Ahmed Fouad Al-Khatib is dangerous for obvious reasons. He was literally inventing lies about Hamas stealing baby formula a few weeks ago. But yeah, this Mark Owen Jones, someone who I was trying to get on Nopolitichere, but he didn't respond. The earliest public post I could find for that fake quote about Hamas celebrating the Bondi Beach attack, yes, the same quote shared by Bill Ackman, Tommy Robinson, New Era, I.L. Yacobi, War Monitor 3, appears to be Hen Mazik, but he deleted it. A senior Hamas official told Al Jazeera, "We welcome the blessed attack in Australia. It was a major and inspiring event that strengthens resistance worldwide. From Nova to Bondi, same ideology, same hatred, same methods, same devastation." It's totally made up. Like, it's totally made up. Hen Mazik spread that. And it goes everywhere. This is, like, directly from a guy that Ethan endorsed. No, I've not seen what Ahmed Fouad Al-Khatib's stories endorsed. Like, claiming that you're not a Zionist and having a whine over this post. How is this post in any way anti-Semitic? Like, you're saying that Zionists are ugly. Okay, that's a fine thing to say. It's not anti-Semitic. You are a Zionist, Ethan. Like, it's as simple as that. If you continually defend Israel, if any of you had the ability or the gumption to watch the long-ass debate with Lonerbox, I kind of made the point clear. It's like, you know, looking at the world over the last few years, and historically, if you bother to engage with Palestine at all from a leftist perspective, it is like undeniably very, very clear that media has always been against the Palestinian cause, that continually it's not been portrayed in the way that, you know, it should, which is explaining Palestinian suffering fairly, and has continually minimized it and centered the Israeli perspective, which is bad. It's objectively bad because we've not had a fair account of the people who we are inflicting suffering upon. And yet people like Ethan, people like Lonerbox, people like, I guess Destiny's just like a full-on Zionist. I mean, so are many of these people. But anyway, a lot of these people have just gone after other content creators because they're not real leftists. Like, none of them give a shit, and we'll talk about this later. Did any of you see Asmongold just calling for, like, Somali crystal nacht, which is like an unbelievable world of things going on. It's unbelievable the things that are happening. But no one gives a shit because they'd rather just criticize Hassan because it's easy and doesn't alienate your fan base. By the way, all of you talking about Truanon's generational run. Truanon had like a great tweet in response to Eve Fartlow, which I'm trying to find. Oh my god, yeah, here it is. Eve Fartlow deleted whatever the hell she tweeted. Let's combine nightmares to make a crazy dream. One where we pour gasoline all over this twisted earth and smile as the bitch burns down around us. Two jokers in a deck that don't want us anymore, but fuck their rigged game. We play for keeps. DM now. He sent this to Eve Fartlow. I'm sorry, however you feel about him. Brace Belden is a generational poster on Twitter. This is amazing. Tweeting this to Eve Fartlow, spelling poor incorrectly is just beautiful. I shout out to this guy. Amazing post. But yeah, Ethan Klein is the male Eve Fartlow. I mean, yeah, quite possibly. Being just this incensed over this post specifically and saying that it's somehow like dangerous anti-Semitism is kind of insane, you know. I saw Baden Panada's video as well. I'm not watching it on stream, where he was talking about like how many murders of like Jewish people there have been worldwide. And of course, like, you don't want people being murdered on the basis of their ethnicity, but it is lower than I would have thought it would have been. It's kind of shocking, but with the hyperfixation that we have on it, and because many like self-proclaimed liberals do not seem to show the same amount of sympathy for Palestinians and Muslims more generally, and people in the Middle East and people in Africa who have been murdered in scores and droves for centuries because of their race and ethnicity. Oh yeah, sure. It's not Brace. Yeah. Unlucky if you haven't seen Asmon's Idiocy. Unfortunately, you are going to see it because it's really, really insane. It's not as bad as the Hutch reaction to Nopolitichere. I did not realize, I kind of did. He's a Call of Duty gamer, but like, this Hutch guy is so inconceivably stupid. It is like unbelievable. There are points where he's like trying to dunk. He reacted to like our podcast with Noah Sampson, right? I'm not watching the whole thing. I'll show you like 10 minutes. There's a point where he tries to address what I'm saying and he lets it play. He just doesn't know what he's talking about. Also, does it look like I've cut my lip? It does look like I've cut my lip, and I don't know why I haven't cut my lip. I'm just thinking about that. I was shocked about how low the death toll was, and it was just since the 1950s. Yes. Call of Duty gamer, yeah. But I also just don't get what like the overarching desire to just continually defend Ethan Klein is. He's just such a pathetic little man. Such a real pathetic individual. And I just like, yeah, I would love to hear how this is anti-Semitic or how this is putting a target on your back. It's describing his politics, which are Zionist, right? Like, that's what they are, and if you can't take it, then don't be a Zionist and change and apologize for your actual behavior instead of just apologizing when you say that you want to reform your image. You know, that's the only reason he apologized at all, literally just to try and reform his image. That's all he cared about. He didn't give a shit about what he'd actually said or done, and now apparently this is dangerous to him and his family. I don't think this is going to get you Charlie Kirked. And also, he doesn't even go out in public. But the funniest part is when he incited violence against Madison and then pretended that there was no truth to it. Now, for the people defending him. I mean, for the people who defend Ethan, they're just people who've latched onto him. Like, look, realistically, if I wanted to, I could just talk about everything that Ethan did and it would pump the viewers up more. Like, it just would. If I made every stream about Ethan in the same way that loads of people make their streams about Hassan and stuff. Like, when he talks about Palestine, or when he's going on a deranged rant about, like, someone that I think is, like, I like, and it's just indicative of how insane this guy is, I'll talk about it. But I am not, like, just someone who's going to just spend all of their time talking about this strange man. But yeah, not liking him is essentially doing violence. He also said that he wanted his community to go to war for him, didn't he? But I mean, like, yeah, it's just like these people don't care. These people don't care about anything. Also, did you guys see Abu Ubaidah died? He was confirmed dead by Hamas for the first time. Abu Ubaidah has been replaced by a new masked spokesman of the Qassam brigades. But yeah, I mean, it's like, obviously the UK has very strict laws around this, but like, yeah, I mean, I don't think it's going to change anything. It's rather unfortunate in terms of the fact of, like, realistically, I think ultimately, and I was thinking about this the other day, by the way, when I was chatting to, like, Lonerbox, and when you chat to Ethan Klein as well, when he talks about, like, how in the context of settlements, right, in the context of settlements, and people being like, oh, I think violence against settlements are okay and settlers in Palestinian land. When I was debating him, I didn't really bring up this point, but it's worth saying that settlements are not some random aberration. Settlements are part of the structure of the Israeli state. They are paid for continuously by the Israeli government. Ehud Olmert didn't freeze settlements. Barak didn't freeze settlements. He built more. Israel has been building settlements in the West Bank since the 1960s. So why is it that you say, yeah, you can attack a settler and a settlement in the West Bank, but you can't attack Israel in its interior? You can't attack the settlements on the Gaza envelope. It's really odd to me when you actually put it in that perspective. And I should have said that, but obviously when you have more time to talk about that, yeah. Attacking Iran, maybe after. I haven't seen Netanyahu talking about attacking Iran again. I don't know whether he will attack Iran again. He may well attack Iran again. It's what they want, but I haven't really looked into it enough. I am interested in Somalia because I didn't have to do that much reading because a lot of it's applicable. The only thing that I didn't really understand is I heard that Somaliland is really useful for the RSF, but I assume that that's actually to do with the air base, but yeah. But maybe I'll talk about it, I don't know. They are protected, it's a red herring. What are you talking about? But yeah, sorry, I'm just talking about Abu Ubaidah dying. It's, you know, it's unfortunate. I don't think it really achieves anything that even the, like, people, the Zionists want. Like, it doesn't, like, it won't achieve the victory that Israel is looking for. Because Israel's victory is ridiculous. The only way they get the victory they want is expelling huge amounts of Palestinians and destroying the existence of a Palestinian state. Did Lonerbox change his mind on anything? I have no idea. I don't know what he's doing now. I haven't watched him in a while. And I doubt we'll have much contact again. But I don't think he'll change his mind. No, I don't think he will. But oh well, what can you do? I don't think debates really change the mind of the people you actually debate. I think you go in with your views and it doesn't matter what facts you tell someone, they're never going to change their mind. I enjoyed doing the podcast with Isaac about it, but yeah, also my mouth hurts. I'm troubled. But yeah, sorry, I'll just, I guess that's kind of it. Is this the only thing that was happening with, Netanyahu's in the US? Yeah, I knew he was in the US because I thought he flew, there. He flew there over France, right? Oh, wait, I just found Ahmed Fuad al-Khatib's cousin speaking about this. Don't worry about him. This is trivial. They took him from Gaza when he was 15 years old, and he was raised in a Jewish home in America. Then he became a monstrous being, as you see. Unfortunately, he is my cousin, but he doesn't represent us in anything. This one has shed his values, religion, and principles. The barking dog doesn't harm you, yeah, and that's Tamer QDH, who's like a Palestinian reporter. Oh, apparently this person is just talking about his family, just Ahmed Fuad al-Khatib's family actually being nice and like, yeah, like good people, but Ahmed Fuad al-Khatib being bad. And yeah, by the way, Ahmed Fuad al-Khatib lived in Gaza for max 5 years. That's what the rest of the tweets are about. But yeah, it's, what can you do? What can you do? That's a guy that Ethan platformed, but apparently it's, you know, he's not a Zionist. It's, I mean, what can you say, really? Like, of course these people will just platform Zionists because they are Zionists, and then they'll complain about the consequences of being called a Zionist. Like, what is What is this? This guy lives in like a gated community. This guy is not some sorry. Lonabox said the 100 doctor statement about how many of the victims treated were children was a lie. Which statement did he say that about? Lips cracked due to the cold. That might be why it looks like you have a cut. Yeah, I think they are cracked. How old was Ahmed Fuad Al-Khatib? You can work it out from his. It's not hard to work out. You can work it out from here. Al-Khatib was born in Saudi Arabia, where his father worked as a UN physician. He and his family returned to Gaza in 2000, and his father began working in the Jabalia refugee camp. Al-Khatib's family was devoutly Muslim. As a child, Al-Khatib hoped to be a politician or a diplomat. At age 11, Al-Khatib was caught in an Israeli airstrike, which killed 3 of his friends and left him with permanent hearing loss in his ear. So he left Gaza in 2005. He moved there in 2000. He lived there for 5 years. He lost his hearing in an Israeli airstrike. Kind of crazy, you know, that he now just does this. Oh, that is a good glass of water. Which did you post on Leftovers H3? Oh, his family. Nice. Thank you. Children with sniper wounds from drones with square amens examined 100 saying they seemed intentional. Yeah, I mean, also, I don't think he had a response, and I don't think there is any response to this. Seriously. I went crazy when I saw this because it's like genuinely so unbelievable. So if we look at the highest estimate of the state killing of children, Russian forces, other unnamed parties, Syrian National Army, the US-led CTJF coalition forces killed quite a lot of children. The Syrian Democratic Forces, in fact, they killed quite a lot of children relative to the number of men that they killed even. Why were they on such a killing spree? I don't know. I guess it's from what they did. But anyway, he owns Al's toy barn. Yeah, he does. Which means he was never trapped in Gaza like the rest of the population. Well, he would also probably be very rich, I assume, if he worked in Saudi. I don't really know about the dynamics of Gaza in terms of, like, socioeconomic class. I do know, actually, that the hijab predominantly used to be worn by women in camps rather than as generally, and it was more of a symbol of class for a very long time. But, yeah, sorry. Look at this. So in the Syrian civil war, across 13 years, including groups like ISIS, 30,000 children were killed. In 2 years in Gaza, how many children were killed? 20,000, of a number that was much lower than this, of civilians killed from a much smaller population. And the demographics of the populations aren't really that different. Like, there are more children in Gaza, yes, granted, but simultaneously, it's also because Israel was very, very, very much interested in mass killing anyone that they could get their hands on. Hello, Silence. Hi. Likes are looking a little low. Yeah, the likes are looking a little low. I don't know what those are about. Yeah, I've seen the video of him talking about toddlers and stuff, but of course, most people moderate their views when they're having... If they purport to be a leftist, you have to moderate your views when you're actually talking to people who are leftists and are pretty serious about Palestine, you know. Is anyone else having the stream cut? Lemon Mint Cat. Sometimes if that's happening, it can help with refreshing, but I don't think it is cutting out for everyone else because you're the first person to mention that. But yeah, I mean, what's happening in Syria is... Wait, are you all having stream cuts? If it gets choppy, close and reopen. Yeah, close and reopen. Try that. I'm really sorry. I don't know what's causing that. Refresh the stream and it fixes it. Yeah, try refreshing. I don't know why it's doing that. Is that a problem for everyone? Stream cuts / choppy sloppies. Okay, no, it's not a problem. Virtual Matt is saying he isn't. No. I'm having stream issues, closed and reopened. Yeah, try that. But sorry, just comparing this to the death toll in Gaza, the number of men killed in this is, you know, expectedly a lot higher. But yeah, in the context of the highest estimate of the Syrian civil war, which I think comes from the Syrian Network for Human Rights, it's pretty high. Okay, right, what were we going to talk about? I guess we'll get into the first topic of today, which is Asmongold's call for torturing the Somalian people and Somalian people being terrorized. Now, all of this comes from... I guess it's probably worth talking about it, because I by the way, I am not watching I'm not talking about a a near hour-long video about Somali fraud in Minnesota. It's not for me. It's not a topic that I know enough about. But yeah, it's just I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. This guy seems like a fucking prick. He seems like a useless journalist, but you know, this is just his life. I investigated Minnesota's $1 billion fraud scandal. This is a real thing. It's undeniably a real thing. I was reading a couple of articles about it. It's not something actually that new. The first stories came out in 2022. And it's only really going up because they're really wanting to demonize Somalis currently. And yeah, like this is like, look, here's an article from 2022.
So much fraud, it could actually almost replace the entire GDP of Somalia. These fraudsters have worked hand in hand with the Minnesota government as they enabled billions of dollars to be given to fraudulent businesses underneath welfare purposes. Some of this money eventually landed in the hands of terrorist groups in Somalia like the
By the way, there is no proof. That's the only thing I wanted to play. There is apparently no proof that this is actually true. It's a claim from it's Al-Shabaab, isn't it? Which is spelled differently to how I saw it previously. So the article that he cited there, the claim emerged in 2018, but there has been no solid evidence to substantiate it. There has been, seemingly, the people engaging in the scam were just doing it for the reason of trying to make money. You have freaks like Marlon Solomon arguing the fact that British people are more upset over the Gaza Holocaust than the Syrian civil war being evidence of despicable anti-Semitism. I mean, also, like, most people don't even bother ever looking into the reasons for why people are more upset or there's more attention paid to Gaza. First of all, the way Israel frames itself as the defender of Western civilization is always going to create an important battleground because it is an important state that we support in the Middle East that, you know, we're going to be told, oh, no, it can't do any wrong, and it's always going to create this friction and this general interest in this public, especially because it's such a large left-right issue. Well, even now, actually, it's blurred that, especially since October the 7th. But yeah, by the way, people's concern over it is not indicative of hatred of Jewish people. It's indicative of the skill of the Palestinian cause in internationalizing it, largely through the 20th century and working with groups like the ANC in South Africa, Libya, many others to like internationalize their course for like a very long time. I don't think Assad even did double taps on children. I mean, Assad and his forces probably did very bad things, but also Israel has done many, many heinous things, and we're not regularly told that Assad is actually the most moral army in the world and that it's okay for, you know, a huge swathe of people in Western society to materially support the Syrian government in mass killings, to go over and aid and abet them in mass killings, like literally participate in them, to participate in torture camps, and then be treated like a hero when you come back to the UK, you know. But sorry, someone said something that's, someone said, like, look at BlackRock. I mean, the thing that I was looking at is, and if any of you wanted to bother having a look at this, I didn't read the whole thing. The Democrats released this a while ago, and it's not the only place. It was just the quickest one that came to hand. Trump is, like, undeniably the most corrupt president ever. Trump sets a precedent, and right-wing conservatism sets a precedent of, like, you know, make as much money as possible with any expense. Like, the people doing this are pieces of shit. Like, the people stealing money from, you know, government-funded programs to better the lives of children. There are no two ways about it. People stole hundreds of millions of dollars to do this kind of stuff, to basically take away money, to claim that they were feeding children, to claim that they were doing all of these things that they were not doing, and they enriched themselves. They spent their money on cars. They spent their money on cars, on luxury houses, on loads of things. And it's bad. Like, it's bad taking money away, and also it leads to the demonization of the Somali community. However, simultaneously, all of these peoples are like people are really, really big fans of Donald Trump. They think that he's great. Like, this guy pardoned Changpeng Zhao, CZ, who was the CEO of Binance, And the only reason they pardoned him was because he was boosting World Liberty Financial. There is no doubt that Trump is making money out of the potential peace deal in Ukraine, where the American government and the Western governments have thrown down the lives of hundreds of thousands of Ukrainians and also Russians as well. I mean, not absolving Putin or anyone from this kind of stuff. But anyway, they've thrown down hundreds of lives, and it's very hard for Ukraine to accept any kind of ridiculous peace deal. And now they're just being forced into accepting one where, Trump and his cronies are going to make huge amounts of money. He's destabilizing and potentially starving Venezuelan people so they can do a $1.6 trillion business opportunity with a right-wing freak Nobel Prize winner. And, how many people will suffer and die as a result of that? All in the name of a bit of money flowing into Trump and his allies' coffers. So, realistically, none of these people care about corruption. They just want to pretend that Somalis are enjoying at their expense to sate the bloodlust of their audience. And, Asmongold really is the perfect example of that. And yeah, none of these people really have any regard or care about any of this. You can read this article if you want, and TrueAnon has some good episodes about it. I wish I could remember them. There is a funny one recently though. Do you remember this car advert called the Nikola One in motion? Their truck that was apparently driving, but actually it was just going down a hill or something. The guy who made that and scammed all these people got away with it. Yeah, sure, there's the document. It's just by the Democrats, and it's just about corruption and how Trump took all this money, how he used to call crypto a scam, then kind of moving into something I'd forgotten, the NFTs sold by Trump, which were crazy. I mean, just zoom in on these. These were so badly made as well. Genuinely, these were just shit. And Trump is just selling pardons and all of this stuff, and it's not bettering the life of average Americans. Of course it's not. But people just want someone to focus on to have as specifically enjoying at your expense. Look at this. Ripple donated $5 million to Trump's campaign, and Solana and Ripple were then put into the cryptocurrency's Federal Crypto Strategic Reserve. And it's this is a load of shit. They're cutting buyer protections. More people are going to get ripped off. And it's just kind of you don't really care about any of this. You just care when someone black does it who's potentially an immigrant. Yeah, they're bad people, but they exist within a system which incentivizes placing profit above humans and scamming your way to the top. Donald Trump's entire life is dedicated to this. Vivek Ramaswamy is another great example of this. Vivek Ramaswamy, was he trying to be vice president? I can't even remember what Vivek Ramaswamy was trying to do. Vivek Ramaswamy sold a fake Alzheimer's drug. He cheated, or he didn't sell a fake Alzheimer's drug. He did some very shady stuff involving an Alzheimer's drug. I won't, very shady stuff involving that, and he made billions from it. He exploited people who have Alzheimer's, right? And the hopes of their families and the hopes of so many people, and it was just a straight up grift that ripped billions of dollars away from people and dashed the hopes of so many. I'm sorry, scamming is incentivized, and you guys like it when a conservative does it. You just hate it when an immigrant who's not rich does it. Jeffrey Epstein's entire life was basically dedicated to this kind of stuff. OMG, fucking moronic. You are a true moron. Why am I a moron? NPCs unite in Christ. Why am I a moron? I wish I could scam $1 million, but wokely. Yeah, I wish I could. He ran for president. Did Vivek Ramaswamy run for president? Jesus Christ, I'd forgotten that. From what I understand, Ukraine has its own oligarchs, and like Russia, and they are putting the ones profiting, while regular Ukrainians are suffering without consistent electricity or gas. I mean, yes, there's also in my understanding, there's a very hard, nationalist camp. I think Zelensky ran on a peace ticket with Russia. if I remember correctly, in what I read from Adam 2's. But yeah. Logan Paul sold a Pokemon for 5.5 million. There's one born every minute. What? What does that mean? Rules for thee and not for me is a feature of, not a bug of conservatism. Yeah, I mean, people just look. Like, I mean, if you're... I mean, actually, most people don't really care about the conservatism of someone who's Somali. Probably a lot of Somalis are conservative. But yeah. Yeah, I think being united in Christ is when you call me moronic. I was baptized and I was christened. So, you know, what can you do? What can you do? But yeah, anyway, let's get into Asmongold's beautiful statements on this. He really is one of the thinkers of our time. He loved this video. This is a real video that's up Asmongold Street, just going around harassing black children.
Help right here. We're looking for the best rates of healthcare here inside this building because we have so many
The best
options.
rates.
Who can we talk
Here we
about
go.
getting the best healthcare?
I don't know.
I don't know.
No.
Wow.
They actually took down information to give us a rate. However, when we left, we were then met with the police.
We received a complaint that, matching your description, we're in this building harassing the individuals who...
And he's trying to assume because they're Somali providers that
Yes.
everyone here is fraudulent.
Okay.
So we're
He's here with
Another
some kind of
Karen.
propaganda.
Yep.
This is a area that we're allowed to enforce trespassing
Yep.
ordinance.
And the Somali community is a very closed community, so everybody's in on it, and they don't want to talk, as you can see.
This is also crazy. This is genuinely an insane thing to say, to show to your huge audience saying, oh, every Somali's in on it. Great idea.
What would you have the police do instead if you were them? What would be your course of action? Genuinely curious. I would create a situation where the police would be afraid to defend these places because they would be worried about being persecuted. This would cause the police to leave and completely disband the police force. This would allow the companies and the people in the area to be effectively completely lawless and turn it into anarchy.
Like, this is just a straight up call for basically like a Crystal Nash style event against the Somali community where you just go round. Like, what does it mean? Like a pogrom against Somalis? Like a purge of Somalis? Creating a lawless situation for them? This, like, I am truly amazed that, like, Adolf Eichmann over here is just calling for this, and it's kind of just okay because, you know, he doesn't like any sort of minority group. He's associating himself with Nick Fuentes, and it's just crazy. What the hell is he talking about? He's talking about a pogrom against Somalis.
That would make it completely chaotic, and these people would then become terrorized by the people that are in this community that they are somehow trying to enable, right? And so the goal is for that to happen and to make it as unpleasant and awful for them as possible, so that way they realize the mistake that they've made. About bringing if you were them, what would be your course of action? Genuinely curious. I would create a situation where the police would be afraid to defend these places because they would be worried about being persecuted. This would cause the police to leave and completely disband the police force. This would allow the companies and the people in the area to be effectively completely lawless and turn it into anarchy. That would make it completely chaotic, and these people would then become terrorized by the people that are in this community.
Like, he is just calling for the people in this community to terrorize Somalis in a lawless situation.
That they are somehow trying to enable, right? And so the goal is for that to happen and to make it as unpleasant and awful for them as possible, so that way they realize the mistake that they've made. That's the goal.
Yeah, I can't encourage that kind of comment. You know, you can't call for violence against Asmongold. You can't call for violence against him. It's not okay. I'm sorry. Sure, I'll pin the link. There you go. But yeah, you can't call for violence against him. I like, it's quite how does this putrid but yeah, this rotten individual just says the most rotten things. And by the way, as well, I was just looking for this because one of you mentioned that Nick Shirley, Mediocre said Nick Shirley was in the White House. I visited the Israel-Gaza border with the last mayor of Gaza. We stood where Hamas launched its attack. We saw the destruction and the aftermath of October 7th. And the mayor breaks down the money trail to expose who profits from war and who is funding the war. This documentary breaks down how Hamas operates and funds itself, the brutal history of Israel and Gaza. By the way, the only part of the brutal history of Israel and Gaza is Israel being incredibly brutal towards Gaza. What life was like before and after Hamas took over in Gaza. Before Hamas took over, it was subject to a violent military occupation. Why Israel responded the way it did. The Iron Dome's failure and how Israel failed to defend themselves on October the 7th. The Nova Music Festival massacre. What really happened? By the way, I'd actually really like to know the answer to that question. So here's a suggestion. Why do we still not know? Why do we still not have an like an international investigation into what happened on October the 7th? Why 2 years on has that not happened? Because I feel like just using the excuse that the United Nations is anti-Semitic when they've put out a multitude of different reports which infer without hard evidence and say that they support Israel's claims, why not let them do the investigation? I don't know, pretty fucking weird to me. It's like how Israel is just currently erasing and still destroying in Gaza and destroying like evidence of the crimes that they have committed. I said we, but it does involve the British as well. I genuinely think that once again, all that stuff about the Hannibal Directive, I don't know how many people were killed. I've not seen evidence that like all of the people were killed by the Hannibal Directive, but how many were killed? Why don't we know that? Why has there not been an investigation? Would I debate Asmongold? Asmongold is never going to debate me. That's not going to happen. I have nowhere near the amount of motion required to debate Asmongold. And also he says, and also he doesn't want to debate anyone. Yeah, and raving next to Gaza is insane. Of course it's insane. The attack on October the 7th was terrible, but you also need to understand that Israel absolutely attacked its own citizens. Well, there's the thing. No one who argues with you about that can actually say otherwise, because first of all, there is evidence of, that Israel did do that, undeniably. I believe even Yoav Gallant said it, who was Israel's Minister of Defense. No, was he the Minister of Defense at that time? Yeah, anyway, I think he was the Minister of Defense. But, like, he did that. He said that. And they just said, and they're not going to do anything. Sorry, there just hasn't been an investigation into it. But, Nick Shirley's there with the last mayor of Gaza. Who is the last mayor of Gaza? Like, also, by the way, the person who did this, I hope that you realize that, like, whilst this guy was mayor of Gaza, the Jewish settlers in Gaza had swimming pools, they had unlimited water, whilst Palestinians there were being denied water. This guy is a piece of shit. Like, this guy is not a good guy. This guy who's apparently doing investigative journalism about the Somali community. This is entirely just an establishment shill. This is the most intense investigation I've ever done and has been shadow banned on platforms like YouTube. You won't see this video from the mainstream media. By the way, there is so much mainstream media who would do this kind of stuff. If you appreciate this video, please like and share. It's just shit.
And Israel are at it.
Yeah.
Israel launched some missiles at Iraq.
Oh, brilliant. Listen to this. It's evidently easy to convince people making $25 an hour to vilify people making $7 an hour flipping burgers done by oligarchs making $100 per hour. I mean, of course, like these people, it's just you need someone to basically portray as enjoying at your expense. That's what you need. It's what you need. Sound? Is something wrong with the sound? What are you talking about? I don't know why there'd be a problem with the sound. The sound seems fine to me. Hold on, I'll check also my Roda Central, because there might actually be an issue. I'm investigating. I'm going to turn it up a little. There we go. I've turned it up to 52. It might be slightly louder. standing on the border talking about the destruction of 10/7, while also all the while you can see a completely leveled Gaza is fucking crazy work. Yeah, of course it's crazy work. It's insane. It's insane. But it doesn't surprise me. Like, these people get paid to do this, but let's listen to his explanation. I literally was a Mormon missionary for 2 years. I am not a Zionist. Went to Israel with my own money to try and figure out what was going on for myself and for my viewers, so they could see it just firsthand versus from a news studio. You seem to just hate people going to the location of the issue. I even tried to enter Gaza, but was denied when I went to Israel. It's called journalism. I don't support the death of innocent children or our dollars funding it. Whether it's Israel, Hamas, Ukraine, or the Al-Shabaab, America first always. What the fuck? Why would America be... I mean, actually, what I was going to say, why would the dollars be going to Abu Shabaab? Like, if anything, America does bomb Abu Shabaab. Like, America will, because whilst they don't like Mogadishu, they do like bombing Al-Shabaab. But yeah, I don't know.
Guys, hey, remember to pay your taxes so Somalians can live the American dream. This is what I would do. I would look at every single one of the residents and also citizens that have immigrated here. And if these people are considered to be net negative taxpayers, I would deport them and denaturalize and deport them. That's what I would do. Because why do we have all of these leeches on our society whenever they're not even from here? Will Trump act on this? No, I don't think he will. That's one of the reasons why I didn't vote for him. I didn't think that he...
It's kind of crazy not voting for Trump. Trump has been explicitly associating himself with more Hitlerian rhetoric throughout his entire time in power. But these people will never be sated until they get their Nazi leader, Nazi-like exact leader again, until they get someone like this guy's rhetoric about like rounding people up. I'm sorry, where do you think this goes? Because he's never going to be sated. He's not sated by Trump already engaging in mass deportations, engaging in violent rhetoric against minority communities. He wants extreme violence, and this will, by the way, what you need to realize if you are an American, if you are anyone, this will only get worse. The Nazis didn't get less anti-Semitic. As Jewish people were removed from, German daily life, the Germans got more anti-Semitic. These people will get more racist, more extreme as Trump carries out his crackdowns. And there's still, at minimum, 3 more years of this? I can't believe it's been a year already. And of course, billionaires are leeches, Trump is a leech, all of these peoples are leeches. Chris, we want you to start sounding. Okay, yeah, I'll do that. I'll do that on stream, mate. That's a great idea. God damn it. Deport this asshole, I would. I mean, deport him where?
He had the... I don't think that he had the...
Asmongold must be deported to Yemen for a year's study with the Ansar Allah.
...to do that. He's really great at killing people in the Middle East. That's amazing. But what about people here? Not good enough. Guys,
what's going on with Asmongold now? He seems to have developed a love of Adolf Hitler. Well, I don't know if this was always or Hitlerian rhetoric. We got this amazing
more
one
attention
as well.
onto the Trump administration's effort to deport these migrants to this very hostile prison where some men say they've been tortured.
Yeah.
Shouldn't have been here illegally. That's what I think. Shouldn't have done it. Yep, nobody asked you to come here. Shouldn't have been here. Maybe then...
History, by the way, is also filled with people who fled persecution and moved to societies. And whenever they've done well, whenever they've done badly, they're treated the same. Like I was reading, I need to finish reading this. It was actually a really easy read, but then I was wrapped up in the deluge, which I am just about to finish, but I keep putting off because I've been reading a lot of articles. Bloody Foreigners by Robert Winder, which talks about like immigration to Britain. This is an article about the book. It's basically just like how, you know, immigration previously was filled with these like brave night journeys to flee like persecution and denigration in the societies they're in. Huguenots are a huge amount of people who immigrated. I think that's how you call them. Huguenots came to the UK because they were being persecuted in France and just being mass killed, and so they came here, and they were treated poorly at times. The church did also try and welcome them with open arms.
They'll watch this and they'll be like, okay, well, maybe I shouldn't show up then. Could this be a marketing ploy? Well, I think it should be. This is, doesn't mean they deserve to be tortured, though. I want to see what the conditions are. Well, here's the question. If they were being tortured, would I agree to not send them there? No, I don't care. Don't give a shit.
I mean, look, like, just saying that people should be tortured is crazy. But, like, this guy really does just fantasize regularly about torturing and mass killing people. Imagine if I just, like, regularly spoke about my desire to torture Zionists. Imagine I just said that all the time on stream. I would be called an anti-Semitic Jew hater. I would lose my platform. But because this guy's doing it about an acceptable group to hate, and it does kind of show you why a lot of people talking about the anti-Semitism crisis versus just, you know, general racism are like so ridiculous, because it is so clear that like violent and horrifying rhetoric against minority communities is totally acceptable if they're like, you know, black, if they're from the Middle East, if they're from Africa, if they're racialized as lazy, poor, fraudsters, all of this shit, you know?
Shouldn't have come here. And also, maybe that's a good thing now that they know. So they know what's on the table if you break the law, is you get sent to some fucking torture prison in El Salvador.
Like, it's amazing. It's amazing. And these people just want straight up fascism. Like, well, I say these people. Sorry, I just got a text. But yeah, this guy just wants straight up torture for anyone who he deems to have done wrong.
Maybe then they'll stop showing up. I respectfully disagree with that. Deporting them is fine. There's people who deserve to not be tortured. Well, then they shouldn't have been here. That's the way it is. It's pretty obvious to me that a lot of mainstream media is trying to present, you know, like us sending these illegals and these migrants to El Salvador is like a bad thing. Now, in my opinion, I think it's great. I'm a big fan of it. I think we should do it more. And yeah, maybe Trump might respond or like scare them from doing it or not. But I think it's also very clear that the way that they report on these topics is extremely biased. Like, I think that these news places, I think that they should have their news licenses taken away. I do.
What does he mean, news license? Is that just a thing in like America, like a license to report news? Like, is that actually a thing in America? Like, I know, like, they shouldn't be allowed to report news? If you're too critical of the Trump administration, if you report on torture? And by the way, does Hassan actually say that this guy is not ideologically motivated? Because Asmongold is the perfect example of ideology. Like, definitely. This guy is like just a straight up extremist whose entire content basically revolves around punishing those who he deems inferior to himself, who he deems as a leech and lazy, who he sees as like inferior. It's crazy. But of course he'll continue to get away with it because these are people who are, you know, who are portrayed as lazy, who are bad in American society. And he wants, but don't you dare report on it because Asmongold will have your news license taken away. He also, by the way, once again, I saw him saying like Hassan is cowardly because he wants other people to attack him because Hassan is like, people are scared of criticizing Asmongold. Categorically correct. Ethan Klein is, of course, terrified of criticizing this guy, whilst Ethan Klein goes on a weepy rant about rising anti-Semitism over this. There's not a single Asmongold story. There's not a single one about him because he knows his pathetic little community won't endorse that because it's not a woman. But this guy, just listen to him speak.
Especially true for young white men, right? is that they have felt that they have been disenfranchised, disadvantaged, and there have been roadblocks put up in their lives that they don't think that they deserve to have. And
Oh, I've accidentally started Sony Vegas. Hold on. I need to blow my nose anyway. 1 second. Hold on. Sorry. The only news license that exists here in the States based on my hasty Google is for news broadcast networks. I mean, yeah, I don't know. Sorry, I just want to restart this.
And this is especially true for young white men, right? Is that they have felt that they have been disenfranchised, disadvantaged, and there have been roadblocks put up in their lives that they don't think that they deserve to have, and they're angry about it, and they don't want to say sorry. They don't want to say sorry. I don't like the idea that I'm being replaced or somebody who's a woman is getting an advantage over me.
But these are all lies. It's very obvious that women are not having, like, fun at our expense. It's very obvious that women just generally don't have, like, this majorly better experience than men. I am sorry, we have so many advantages over women as males in our society. These are all fantasies. These are the same kind of fantasies that the Nazis had. Young German men actually had, like, more, like, a lot of young people who were influenced into Nazism, a lot of their first experiences in life were very harsh during, you know, the end of the First World War. Like, they had bad lives. Like, people's food stocks were low. They were, you know, they experienced hyperinflation and all of this shit. It didn't mean that it was right to elect and support Adolf Hitler. And if anything, with a platform, you should be addressing that and saying, hey, yeah, you know, people do have negative experiences, but it's certainly not Somalis or women who are responsible for that. It is governments thieving at your expense and a society that prioritizes profit over human beings and the betterment of people's lives, because that's obviously what's going on, not we should elect Nick Fuentes. But, like, by the way, once again, I really do want to reiterate, and this is a point where, like, I have made this over and over again, and I know Hassan does too. I will reiterate again. Ethan's stories are about someone...
David Duke posted...
In big trouble. I know.
Hi, Marco. Apparently David Duke posted about you. Wait, is that why there's a bunch of random fucking losers in the chat being like, Jew, silence Jews or something? Is that what it is? I'm trolling.
Like, whoops, looks like that's just your chat pal. Here's Asmongold talking about endorsing Nick Fuentes. Nick Fuentes believes, by the way, that Jews did that all to white people. And, like, I don't doubt that anyone who's, like, kind of associating themselves with that should probably be the target of, you know, the whole I am upset by anti-Semitism crowd. Because if you're talking about a real similar historical anti-Semitism rising again, it's probably going to come from the guy who's talking about how Jewish people have ruined your society. But I don't know, maybe it'll actually be Hassan Piker because he criticized you in Israel and spoke out about you being the idiot that you are. And then there's a story about Taylor Lorenz talking to Jon Stewart and this. Of course, he will never talk about Asmongold because he'll never admit it, but his viewers like people like Asmongold these days. Like, they do. Like, look how quickly they adopted that fucking, like, weirdo, MAGA, passport bro, legal mindset because he made some stupid videos like, all the defendant women are destroyed by our epic lawsuits. But, like, once again, I do want to reiterate that, like, the people like Nick Fuentes and, like, the others who are like him, and also Asmongold to a large extent, do traffic in the same kind of conspiracies that, like, you know, Nazis would have. That, like, Nick Fuentes definitely. Asmongold, I don't know whether he's so obsessed and blames Jews for it. I mean, I've heard his statements around the Holocaust and stuff, but anyway... Nick Fuentes, these people, he's like, oh, we've got all these disadvantages that minorities have inflicted upon you. And these are racialized groups that he's okay with being sent to camps and tortured. how far is the trajectory towards rounding people up and mass killing them? The point we are? I don't know.
Anymore. And I think that whenever those people, and by the way, that's the reason why, see, like a lot of people don't understand this because they don't really get the psychology behind it. I at least think that I do. The main reason why people like Nick Fuentes are trying to normalize and make Hitler like an acceptable figure to like make jokes about and say positive things about is because if you can break that stigma, you can effectively unlock a massive identity movement for white people.
It's kind of amazing thinking that there's not a massive identity movement for white people already called the Republican Party and called Western civilization. Like, what do you think the society that we live in is? Like, the people who built our society after the First World War, like, Woodrow Wilson supported the KKK, and he was like a liberal of his time. He said that the KKK were founded as a defensive organization for the white race. Like, of course, there's a white identitarian movement. Like, it's just crazy. Like, I am sorry. I find it amazing. I find it amazing that this is just him going, oh, I think we should shift the Overton window and unlock a white movement and make Hitler cool again. And this is apparently not a concern for the anti-Semitism crowd. Has Hen Mazeeg ever posted about Asmongold? I genuinely wonder. No, Hen Mazeeg has not posted about Asmongold, I don't think. I don't think he ever will, because, of course, Hen Mazeeg is not Hen Mazeeg is not someone who's willing to talk about Asmongold, because realistically, a right-wing anti-Semite racist like this is a friend, because he will support the establishment figures who will bring people who support Israel to power. He always will. He likes Trump.
That's the reason why they're doing it. This is especially true. And I do think, by the way, I do think that for Nick Fuentes does genuinely represent a primordial id of the disenfranchised, disaffected Western man. And I think that whenever he says stuff like that, there is a catharsis that comes out of everybody who is watching, and they're like, yes, that's what I was saying. That's what I think. Like, logically, there would never be a universe where I would say that I liked Hitler. If I did like him, I'd lie and say I didn't like him. And if I didn't like him, I'd say that I didn't like him. So there's not really any sort of conversation to be had about it anyway. It's just common fucking sense, right?
I genuinely do wonder whether he likes Hitler. Like, a primordial id. This is called, Asmongold, if you want to get into psychoanalysis, this is called ecstasy, where you can recognize a feeling in someone else by saying others feel this way that you would never actually avow yourself. I will tell you, most of the young white males that I know, who I'm friends with, are not like Nick Fuentes provides me with any kind of catharsis, because most of them have had sex. Because most of them lead semi-fulfilling lives of, like, meeting and hanging around normal people who don't live in their home for their entire life, surrounded by rot and garbage. Like, you know? Like, this, who is getting catharsis from Nick Fuentes and the way he speaks and talking about loving Hitler? This is, by the way, what what he's talking about, rather than primordial id. He is interested in ecstasy.
Of course, you don't go out and say that you like Hitler. It's fucking retarded. So anyway, the point that I'm making is that anytime you go through this, sure, well, yeah, obviously. Isn't that common sense that people wouldn't say that? Duh. And so, you sure you'd get banned? Yeah, absolutely. If I was going out there and saying that Hitler was good, I would 100% get banned.
Rooting for you from Finland.
Yeah, Asmongold has been...
We've seen this clip. It is truly amazing. I love that this guy just is not focused on by any of these people, because obviously focusing on them is bad for their career.
Because I know that the way that I look at things, because I know that
the scandal is actually...
I think maybe this is controversial, but they have to crush the other side.
That's right. Oh,
we've definitely seen this clip before.
That's right. 100 fucking %.
You have to, because you can do one of two things. You cannot challenge the left.
That's
and
right.
let them do their thing.
And then they're going to just run you over, and eventually when they get power, they're going to crush you.
Or you can utterly confront them and defeat them. And
you destroy them completely. Destroy everything about them. Put the mayors in jail. Put the governors up on the Insurrection Act for sedition. Put all of the people that were doing the shit in front of the detention centers. Put them in mandatory prison labor camps. Any of them that are violent, authorize the police officers to respond with violence to them.
Just anyone with like a basic knowledge of politics around the world should be terrified by this, that this is something that he feels comfortable saying as the biggest streamer. Because like, I am sorry, I do not want the police to have any way to use more violence than they can already. Like, I look at other countries with horror that have, and I am not someone who is a fantasist about Western democracy, who believes that genuinely things are going so great in a country like mine, or like America. But what I will acknowledge is, fuck me, it is terrifying looking at authoritarian states who can just say, oh, there were violent protesters there, and authorize just, you know, a murder spree, and that just not matter. I mean, Israel's a perfect example of this. They killed a kid a few days ago, said he was throwing rocks. He wasn't even throwing rocks. He was just walking home. They murdered him, and those people won't even go to prison. And yet the Israeli settler freak who ran over a Palestinian on his little quad bike will just be going free. But like, just for Asmongold, no, I can't wait for the minority torture.
Immediately, completely shut it down. Bring in the military if you need to. Bring in the National Guard. Do whatever you need to do. Look and find out who...
Of course it's hate speech, and of course it taps into, like, it's so funny as well. And it's kind of indicative of a problem that will rise for a lot of purported liberals in Western society. Your support, your endorsement of the Israeli settler colonial project, your condemnation of leftists who stood 10 toes down against the Israeli genocide and trying to make out that they were the anti-Semites will bite you in the ass, because it is doing nothing positive. It continually fuels the same system that we live in. You are continually paving the road for more and more fascistic people to get into power that will finally maybe sate the bloodlust of Asmongold, but who knows whether he'll actually get the bloodlust that he wants. Because this guy seemingly wants things that are just authoritarian Mussolini fascist death squads running around, killing protesters and minorities.
Who's funding this? Take those people, charge them with incitement for terrorism, put them in Guantanamo Bay. Like, I'm talking about scorched earth, Old Testament. Get them the fuck out.
His racist rants haven't stopped either.
Oh my god, bro. Not only is this a call for domestic terrorism, oh, of course, right? The thing is, like,
it is, of course, a call for domestic terrorism, but it is a form of domestic terrorism that is completely acceptable. It is a form of domestic terrorism that is sanctioned by the government. All of these people who view themselves as like somehow dissidents, as people whose thought is not acceptable to the mainstream. Of course their thought is acceptable to the mainstream. The government already engages in this kind of violence against dissidents. This guy just wants it ramped up more. But yeah, like, realize that these people aren't going away. They're only going to get more comfortable. And your choice to... Oh my gosh, Sophie, thank you for the 20 gifted memberships. Wow, fucking hell, Sophie. Jesus. I don't even know if it's going to show me who got the memberships. Are my things on? Wow, Jesus, Sophie. W Sophie. Thank you so much. I hope you had a good Christmas. I hadn't even seen you were here. Wow. A lot of new members. Urging displacement is fucked. urging any of the stuff that he's but this is sanctioned. This is okay. Like, the same people who will tell you that it's not okay to talk about, you know, Israel not allowed to be an ethno-state forever will just say that this is okay. That will just... This will never be the focus because they're not leftists. Like, you have to realize this. Like, I was watching that Hutch guy and him trying to claim that the Holocaust was some, like... and the Nazis, sorry, not being able to understand that what we were saying is like, hey, there are a lot of genocides in history where a lot of people were mass murdered because of the ideology of the people who did it. And him not being able to grapple with or reckon with that is indicative that there is this space of like semi-left. They're not leftists. They're liberals. They're pathetic. They're pathetic. Oof. And the chat is going bloody mental. Lucky to the 20 people. And Sophie, honestly... Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for this crazy year of streaming.
Hey, listen, these losers are not even worth responding.
There is one thing I like about this clip, though. It has Dan Bongingo doing an important update.
They're not even worth responding to or taking seriously. At the end of the day, they want to come off on the side of illiterate, un-American immigrant Somalians rather than actual Americans, right?
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. Is this guy literate? Like, I don't even know if he's literate. Like, I don't know if this guy is literate or not. Like, genuinely, I genuinely don't know. These streamers. Asmongold claiming death to a leftist. Yeah. Greta Thunberg leading a food and help flotilla. Woke leftist extremist. Asmongold claiming the death of the left. A young guy practicing his free speech. Yeah, I mean, this is just a guy who wants death. This guy just wants death to anyone who he deems as inferior to him. But once again, I will reiterate, the reason that Asmongold cannot be just dismissed as some unideological guys, this is the perfect embodiment of, this is the perfect embodiment of right-wing politics. All it is about punishing people who he deems as inferior to him. I really want to hear his take on gaming.
And, you know, at that point, I wonder who's really the one that's committing treason, okay? So, anyway, there's no reason to even take it seriously. They're just retarded.
We can have a little palate cleanser of... I really want to see his take on... I want to see his take on manly video games. I can only find a video of Destiny reacting to it.
As video games used to be. And I'm just going to say it.
What?
It's really so sad how badass video games used to be.
Why is Destiny the only way that I can find as a conduit to look at this clip? Destiny is like...
Are you done with the game? Exactly. It's always a bad idea. I think
this guy does have some amazing takes about video games.
Pretty much every single circumstance, it's always a bad idea to make characters that are not conventionally attractive. Because this is, again, this is a shooter game, and shooter games are going to be primarily played by men. So if you're making a shooter game that's primarily made for men, then you should make sure that all of the female characters in the game are fuckable.
This is such a virgin take. I have never ever, like, I like video games. When I'm playing them, I never ever revolve my thought around a video game around who is fuckable or not in it.
And I know this might sound crazy to say, but I'm just going to say it. That's what you should do. That's what you should do, because that's what people want to do. That's what girls will cosplay. Girls don't want to cosplay ugly, weird-looking, androgynous, creepy characters. And all of that, like, think about how much advertising Marvel Rivals gets because of how many girls try to cosplay the characters. I think...
I'm just trying to find this clip of him talking about
Actually, so sad how badass video games used to be. He's gonna say it.
Sorry, you can tell I'm still a bit sick. Why? The only way I can find this clip is
Male lions, Subtly so happy. There's at least not Kai and Aiden and Speed's level. Yeah, because they're not that entertaining. And so here's the thing: is that here's the thing.
Okay, here's the final clip I'll watch.
Thing is that he's been mad at Charlie for like the better part now, almost a better ever since Dogtober 7th, and Charlie made a video talking about Hassan's drama. Hassan has regularly invoked and brought up Charlie as a person who,
Charlie Kirk?
Isn't critical of me for some reason or another in order to create a... this is the thing, like, a lot of people might not notice this, but it's pretty obvious that he's doing this, is that he's trying to indirectly put pressure on him for him to attack me or say negative things about me because he made a video critical of Hassan's dog thing. That's what's happened.
It is also really funny that, like, had Hassan actually shocked his dog, it would still be less extreme than this guy talking about, exterminating people he disagrees with, minorities being punished because he hates them.
Gaslighting? Well, he's trying to signal to his audience that, basically... it's like an implication that somehow he agrees with me or he doesn't agree with Hassan or something like that when he just called you out for the dog thing and that was it. Then why you call Tectone a generational rapist? That's crazy to even say, especially based off an accusation and trying to accuse him of some kind of guilt because...
I don't think Hassan shocked his dog. Being frank, just listen to the people around him. Listen to the people who are around, who actually know him, who have spent time looking after his dog. He didn't shock his dog. Put frankly, I don't care. I'm not spending my time litigating whether or not Hassan shocked his dog. But relative to the level of things going on the internet, that is minor.
His dad, his dad did something bad.
I'm going to straight up say this. I think shocking a dog is objectively not... anywhere near the level of saying, as someone with tens of thousands of viewers, think Nick Fuentes is a great voice for the primordial id.
And so now Tectone's a generational rapist? That's crazy to say that. It really is. I don't know what else to say about it besides that. Generational rapist? Yeah, Hassan constantly talks shit about people. He constantly says bad stuff about people. I don't know really why you're trying to pretend like you don't.
These fucking text messages and god damn it, I'm giving you so much fucking lore that I shouldn't know I'm 34 fucking years old. Oh my god, I'm far too employed for this.
Calling someone a rapist is bad. They may be innocent. Torturing innocent men is okay. They may be Mexican. Allowed speech online. 100%. 100%.
Don't ever let him tell you that he's not a slop tuber. He just revealed that he knows all of the internal drama about Clavicular and his ex-girlfriend. So this whole thing of I'm a political commentator,
Okay, I don't give a shit. I really wanted to hear this tape, but the only way I can watch Asmongold talking about... He really does look like a rat. At the start of this, he really does look like a fucking rat. It is unbelievable. Oh, goodness me. Just goodness me. Don't remind me I'm 34. Well, I'm 25, so I can enjoy slop all I want. Slop tuber when it's a rising right wing symbol. Yeah, also I think people need to get up off their high horses and realize that online is just filled with slop. And one of the ways to combat it is to talk about topics like this, to talk about what they mean and what they are, and to talk about the cultural significance of them. You'd be surprised, people would discredit it maybe as a kind of meaningless cultural event because that's what it became. But the OJ trial was a very significant moment in American history. Does he look like Master Shredder? I feel like Master Shredder was a good man of strong moral character, and Asmongold is not. What did Master Shredder even do? Master Shredder looks cool. No, wait, was Master Shredder the rat? Why are there sort of pictures of Shredder as a human? Was that rat? Splinter. Oh, Master Splinter. That's what he was called. Splinter. Shredder was the bad guy. I don't know. I don't think Asmongold's quite as cool as this gentleman. Hassan isn't your personal friend. Stop crying over him. Yeah, I as I've said, like, I wouldn't obsess over anyone. Like, I know I've spoken to Hassan, but yeah. Master Shredder Cheese, Master Splinter, thank you all for correcting me. Transform the slop into something beautiful. Yeah, I think that there's definitely a thing of, like, just not constantly making content that is slop and trying to do political reporting and putting in political reporting. But yeah, I did want to talk about this Hutch stream because it is amazing. It's truly amazing. He just doesn't like Taylor Lorenz as well.
Which I was listening to because I'm
getting some details wrong about the Roblox stuff, but then they just blatantly misrepresent, like, edgelord.
Yeah, sorry, Ethan Klein. That was a really inappropriate comment. I do sincerely apologize about Shredder the dog and calling the rat from it Shredder. Shredder was actually the bad guy from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Humor. What are you trying to purport that he was being serious in those moments? That he was, like, genuinely curious about, or being pedophilic in a kind of serious way?
The internet. So yeah, can't say anybody takes him seriously or should take him seriously.
The allegations against Tectone are absolutely insane. The allegations are that basically 2 women have spoken out against him. One of them, whilst he was dating, also condemned the allegations of the first woman, but then after Tectone broke up was like, no, it's not true.
Ridiculous.
The Charlie he mentioned is that centrist loser, Moist Critical, who barely took a stance in 2 years and is business partners with Asmon. Is he actually business partners with Asmongold? I know who Moist Critical is, of course. I wasn't talking about Charlie Kirk there.
Didn't Sam Cedar get kicked off MSNBC for an edgy joke regarding his own daughter? I have no idea what you're talking about there.
In this corner of the internet, but it's absolutely mind-boggling that he has millions and millions of subscribers that still will tune in and listen to his slop.
Anyways, I missed this video, but Noah Samson went on a podcast to talk about, like, the Ethan stuff.
This guy has got a really shiny head, I will say. Fair play to him on that much.
Here. Is it wrong to... Let me look at these sections here. Is it wrong to compare Zionism to Nazism? Noah's evolution from anti-red pill content. Ceasefire. Covering Palestine is important despite emotional challenge. Noah breaks his silence on Ethan Klein lawsuit. I do want to...
Is he having trouble reading?
Hear what he has to say about comparing Zionism to Nazism. Yeah.
You guys mentioned briefly, like in the last episode, which I was listening to because I'm your guys' #1 fan, but talking about the comparison between Israel and Nazi Germany and the way that
MSNBC to sever ties with contributor Sam Cedar after resurfaced Roman Polanski rape joke. This is from 2017. MSNBC announced it will sever ties with contributor Sam Cedar, citing a resurfaced tweet making light of Roman Polanski's rape conviction. Cedar's contract was due to expire in February, and the network has no appearances scheduled between now and then, according to initial reports by The Wrap. In a since deleted tweet from 2009.
By the way, I was looking into this because I was like, "Whoa, that's a bit of an odd thing of talking to." Bit of an odd thing to, like, say, but apparently this does kind of make sense. So this is what he says. I won't repeat it. Don't care, Ree Polanski, but I hope if my daughter was ever R-worded, it is by an older, truly talented man with a great sense of mise-en-scène. Cedar says he was lampooning the hundreds of film industry workers who signed a petition in support of Polanski, who was convicted in 1977 of assaulting his 13-year-old daughter. Awful. But yeah, I mean, it's a bit of an inappropriate joke, but it was in 2009.
Cedar wrote, "Don't care."
I was just amazed. We're not watching much of this because this guy is genuinely very, very, very stupid. but I will react to it. Wait, have we moved there? Yeah, we have.
Cedar wrote, "Don't care regarding Polanski, but I hope if my daughter is ever
Why doesn't 2 times speed work on Google Chrome anymore?
raped, it is by an older, truly talented man." Okay. Obviously joking. But that, I'm saying, listen, in 2009, this is my point. In 2009, people were just like pushing the envelope. They were doing, nothing was off limits. So I don't think we should judge 2009 tweets with a 2025 lens. That's a pretty crazy tweet. It's a pretty crazy tweet. But I'm not going to judge him for that. I'm not going to morally judge him for a tweet like that.
Oh, God.
Some have...
Is 2 times for premium users only? Fuck me. I'm going to have to get YouTube Premium at some point soon.
Ethan Klein, I mean, for example, made a story about how it's anti-Semitic to compare kids that were treating Bezalel Smotrich, like the leader of one of the leaders of the Nazi regime in Israel, as like Taylor Swift. Like they were super excited to see him, and then people were comparing them to the Hitler.
By the way, I just want to say, Bezalel Smotrich has a written out plan where his belief that what Palestinians should be subjected to is either full subservience to Israel with a complete dismissal of having any national right, any existence as a Palestinian, being expelled or being murdered if they choose to stand up for Palestine. That's what Bezalel Smotrich believes. He believes in the destruction of the near 7 million people, Palestinian people, who live in that country. This guy would 100% call the Uyghur genocide, the Chinese treatment of Uyghurs, a genocide, but he would not extend the clearly growing understanding of genocide, which includes a cultural element, to the context of Israel and Palestine, because of course he's never actually read anything about genocide and doesn't have any regard for genocide at all.
Youth. And it's been floated around, and it's a common defense of Israel that like you're uniquely targeting people's Jewishness by like trying to antagonize them secretly by calling them Nazis. When in reality, it's just the structure of racial supremacist genocide. That's exactly what they're doing. That's what the Nazis did. It's a perfectly...
I mean, listen, however bad the violence and the death toll and the bombing and however bad all the material conditions are in Gaza, I think it is insane to...
You are a very, 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 very stupid man. Like, genuinely, you are a very, 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 very stupid man. You noted what Noah said. He spoke about the structure, not the material conditions being exactly the same. However, Israel is engaging in mass slaughter, and what Israel wishes to do to the Palestinian people is to expel millions of them outside of their Palestinianness.
Imply or explicitly say that it was on the same level as Nazi Germany. I don't even understand why that would need to be explained.
Israel is a state premised on the expulsion of huge amounts of Palestinians, the destruction of them and their culture. Of course, it's just people... It's just someone watching people who have, an idea about what they're talking about and just going, that's bad.
Crazy to me that would need to be explained. The reason why the Holocaust sticks out in the historical record and why it's been such a heavy emphasis of historical learning and education is because it was so uniquely, barbaric, murderous, evil.
I would love to know why it was uniquely barbaric, murderous, and evil. But what was done in the Congo, what was done in the Americas, what was done in Algeria, why all of that stuff wasn't, uniquely and barbarically evil. Because I think if you sit there and act as if one event is specifically uniquely barbarous and evil and exists as an aberration rather than a product of politics, then you end up with no way to address it, hence why this kind of stuff is on the rise again.
And the conversation doesn't need you. I feel like you're deliberately sidetracked. You're deliberately being provocative. And yes, I do think you're kind of.
Bro, I don't give a fuck if we're provocative. I literally don't care if I am provocative towards people doing genocide. Like Israel is doing genocide. Yes. But I think if you just say Israel Nazis because Israel bad, Nazi bad, that's not an interesting thing to talk about. However, where it is interesting to talk about Israel and the Nazis, or why it is interesting to talk about Israel and the Nazis, is because of the ideology that undergirds them of settler colonialism, you know? And like, there's a bit later, because I'm not watching the later bit of this. There's like 2 hours of him reacting to this. But anyway, there's a later bit where he starts talking about Madison or something, and he's like, I think you should have a base level idea if you talk about things on the internet. You don't have a base level of an idea about Palestine. You have learnt debate talking points on the internet. You don't care about left-wing politics. You don't care about, like, teaching your community, engaging with them, talking about politics. All you care about is just grinding out a bit of money and going Democrats good, Trump bad.
I do think you're kind of, I don't know if it's like attacking Jewishness, but like you are kind of
hashtag attacking Jewishness.
Like, it's obviously very provocative to say that a Jewish country is like the same as Nazi Germany. And I think that's the point. The point is to be as provocative as possible, but you're really sidetracking the conversation.
Sidetracking the conversation away from what? Israel has done genocide in Gaza. Like, I don't even think people like this have any conception of why the Nazis killed Jewish people, what their propaganda actually said about Jewish people. Like, why Jewish people were the people targeted specifically in that way. Because they don't care about this. They don't care.
It's just it's a total distraction. Like, you can do all of the advocacy you want to do regarding to the plight of Palestinians and calling attention to the ways that they're suffering. And you can do all that without sidetracking the conversation on this useless distraction. But it's...
Most leftist influencers grew up spoiled. None come to mind that are actually working class. There are plenty of working class. I have never ever once denied my privilege growing up, by the way. But as I grew up and when I was younger, I didn't grow up with, like, leftist views or be told to be a leftist. Like, I grew up with pretty problematic views. And the reason I draw comparisons between all of this stuff is because you can literally look at Rabbi Meir Kahane and the way in which Kahane drew so much popularity for basically just espousing Nazi views.
All of which are well within the lines, the boundaries of the pre-1967 state of Israel.
Sorry, I've just seen this for the first time ever. Rabbi Meir Kahane's Kach election campaign video, 1988. Never seen that before.
I don't understand why...
Oh, more indigenous people were killed, by the way, and they were killed because they were deemed racially inferior, and they were replaced by the racially superior white man. And I'm sure that a fuck like this would make the excuse of, well, actually, lots of them died from diseases because they'd never met Westerners before. Yeah? What? You would never, ever, you would literally consider someone anti-Semitic who diminished the death toll of the Holocaust, but 1 million of them died from privation. 1 million Jewish people died as a result not of directly being murdered, but rather because of starvation, because of diseases that spread. And those didn't just come out of nowhere. They were a direct result of Nazi policy, in the same way that through the destruction of the life and culture of the indigenous people, many of them caught diseases that spread huge amounts of disease amongst huge disease amongst the native indigenous populations.
It needs to be explained that what the Nazis did is truly unique in the scope of human history, which is how...
Why? Explain it then. If it is unique, explain it. Offer a distinct explanation of why it is unique.
What they did in such a short...
You can't just keep saying what they did.
Amount of time, too.
App comparison. And
why does the time scale matter? People still die. Their culture's still destroyed and they're gone. millions upon millions of Irish people died or left or were starved as a result of what the British did there. And across the British Empire, our ideology killed how many people? And to this day kills people. COD dehumanizes Arabs. The COD-brained individual.
Like, even, I guess, entertaining the idea that, you know, maybe it hurts their feelings, so we should use a different metaphor. First of all, the metaphor is the most apt for a Western audience, of course. I mean, because of a lot of reasons, in order to sustain Israel and to, you know, it's the most like widely written about and understood immediately. If you say Nazis, that's like one of the pure evils of like government, of war, of genocide, of anything. So it resonates. But in order to,
the only thing I guess I didn't talk about is, by the way, I don't use the, you guys know this, I don't generally use the term evil to describe Nazism. Like I don't, because it's a political ideology.
Going to entertain the idea that it's hurting their feelings and that you shouldn't make that comparison, then you are basically saying historical oppression absolves them of the possibility of committing genocide. It absolves them of the...
I don't think that's what that means.
Moral weight.
I mean, this is what people think. But, you know, this, like, it is amazing that people like this have an audience where he just goes, I don't think that's what he means. I guess this is one of the first times I've watched someone do this. I've seen Bad Empanada say this. Why? Explain your feelings and thoughts. Why? Why is any of this true? Why do you feel this way? Why can't you say it? Why? Why is it just, oh, this is bad, and then no more?
Of participating in, you know, expansionism on ethnic grounds. And that's, I mean, I don't know, we have the phrase like Jewish supremacy written down here, and Jewish exceptionalism is also one that's been kind of spoken on. And I think it is kind of this this situation where if you're going to allow it to, if you're exempt from being made to being compared with historical examples of oppression, then I mean you're just
your chat might have a collective IQ of the room temperature. Remy Laboo.
I like this comment from a Hutch subscriber. This guy is internet dumb. Pick up a book or watch some documentaries. By the way, of all of these things, I actually think picking up a book is... And this is my New Year's resolution. All of you should read more when you have the time. Read. Engaging and grappling with a book is a difficult thing. And learning things and developing your own feelings and not having them distilled down to you by other people. Reading is a revolutionary act. Get yourself watching All the President's Men, or... what's 3 Days of the Condor, where he can just do anything because he's read books. That's what you can do. You can deal with any Zionist propaganda, or you can beat Max von Sydow in a fight if you read enough books.
What were you responding to? Who has room temperature? Let me investigate. You were responding to Raji. Nazis actually picked out specific people to kill. Jews, that's a difference. Israelis pick Palestinians. What's your point? Oh, there's a lot to unpack with that one.
Nationalizing current and future examples of repression. So,
and you know, this only
dude's hitting the custom elf bar in the corner.
Really applies to Jewish people, because the uncomfortable truth of the matter is the Holocaust also dramatically persecuted Romani people, Slavs, gay people, leftists. So if a Romani person went up to a Jewish person...
Why is he downplaying just how much of an heavy emphasis the Nazis placed on the on Jewish people? Like, no...
Of course, the Nazis also exterminated huge amounts of other people. And it's talking about the Nazis as an ideological movement, not just Nazi bad evil. Because that's not meaningful analysis. That's just saying Nazis bad and evil.
Nobody's saying that they only killed Jewish people, but... He seems to be pushing back against, like, well, you know, they weren't the only people that were picked on. It's like, okay, well, there was a special emphasis placed on Jewish people. Like, obviously. Like, you know, like, what are we, yeah, leftists were persecuted just the same. It's like, well, you know.
There is like a material difference between how leftists, like a communist and a Jewish person, were persecuted. I do like the opinion of Todd McGowan on this topic, talking about how Todd McGowan is like, okay, Jewish people and communists represented the universal of politics. They represented this idea that was totally antithetical to Nazism. Nazism was a particularist form of identity politics, whereas both communists and Jewish people in the opinions of Nazis and also in the opinion of a lot of Jewish leftists and communists generally, both represented this kind of politics of, you know, not believing in particular race. In the case of in the case of Jewish people, basically what it was that they were like, oh, they've inserted themselves into the German race and they're dangerous. You know, the whole stab in the back myth, the Senegalese troops in the Ruhr, all of these things that were allegedly done by Jewish people to harm the poor German nation. And what made them fundamentally different is you can change the opinion conceivably of a communist. You're not going to, so you send them to the labor camp, you maybe kill a lot of them and torture them or whatever. But in the context of a Jewish person, fundamentally in the Nazi ideology, they cannot change.
And I made this analogy last episode, but if a Romani person was, you know, on an anti-Semitic tirade saying a whole bunch of, you know, racist shit, had a Twitter page called Hitler, you know, 1488, whatever, you would have no problem saying, okay, this Romani person is a Nazi. You know, cognitive dissonance aside, this person is a Nazi. That person still can you know, fall back on the true claim that Romani people were persecuted in the Holocaust, but no one would really take that seriously as like a shield for criticism on their part. They wouldn't be able to, you know, distance themselves from it and use.
You know, in my opinion.
By the way, Isaac did actually tell me this guy genuinely exists. The Romani white supremacist neo-Nazi called Gypsy Crusader. Apparently, this is the real life embodiment of the neo-Nazi Romani streamer. So he does exist.
There wouldn't be really a problem if you accuse Israel of doing genocide. You know, you're going to have reasonable people on both sides of that debate. I think you can have a good faith debate. I don't think it's a bad faith accusation necessarily, depending on who it's coming from and why they're, you know, what their rationale is. It's not, that's not really what it's all about. This conversation they're having is about the very specific.
What are the comments here? It's like telling the civilians of Nanking that they're like the Imperial Japanese. What? What's he talking about? What does this mean? What does this mean? I feel like leftists could escape to another country without concern about quotas placed on Jews. What?
Specific claim that what Israel is doing is on the level of Nazi Germany. That's where you start to get into this territory of whatever this conversation is.
Use that as like a protection.
Yeah, I think there's also something really interesting that you said, Noah, and I'm not sure it's like a good or a positive thing, but Westerners bear in mind generally the images exclusively of the Holocaust. They don't really think about the images that came out of, you know, Algeria, the things that the French did there. Sure, it didn't reach the same scale as the Holocaust, but, you know, the same with the
T-Spear with 93 months creeping up on one hundo. Thank you so much, buddy.
Congo, where 10 million people died, or British famines that were orchestrated anywhere, Ireland, so many places where huge
Germany in Namibia. Germany, that's not even the first genocide Germany committed in that century. They did one in Namibia.
That they denied for so long. I think there's still some maintenance of denial around that. And particularly the biggest case is Americans. Many Americans sit there and say, don't make that comparison when, you know, as I'm sure most, if not everyone who's watching this knows, there is a long-standing link between the Nazis and the Americans. Hitler spoke.
Vishy with the gifted sub to Kevinator. Vishy, hey, cheers, buddy.
I love how he's allegedly so upset by this, and we apparently don't know much about this kind of stuff, but like has no response to any of this. Leftists were the first people Nazis killed when they took power in 1933. I guess the first people subject to mass systemic extermination were disabled people, no? And like mentally like ill people.
Thank you so much. Hope you had a good holiday season. Hope you have a wonderful, happy new year.
In the and when, you know, as I'm sure.
It seems like the purpose of this discussion is they seem to be trying to minimize the Holocaust, right? Isn't that the point of it?
It's amazing. It is amazing. This guy is so stupid. Like, I am genuinely amazed at the caliber of what it takes to be a leftist streamer on the internet. I wonder if this guy ever reads anything beyond other people's opinions on Twitter about topics. I wonder if he has ever read a book. I genuinely do. Because this guy just like sitting here and kind of saying this, just saying like, this is about minimizing the Holocaust. No, it is not about minimizing the Holocaust. The Holocaust is, of course, a terrible event that occurred in Europe. It is grotesque. The mass murder committed by the Nazis is a terrifying thought, a terrifying thing. What it is about, however, is not pretending that it is some unique evil aberration. It is confronting it for the politics that it was and is, and the politics that are making a resurgence today with the modern Republican Party, that are making a resurgence in the mind of Asmongold. Because remember, the Nazis didn't begin with mass extermination of Jewish people.
Well, you know, the Holocaust was bad, but, you know, there was plenty of other bad things. Was it?
There was plenty of other bad things. Yes, the Holocaust was the behavior of Europe in the colonies turned inward.
Really all that uniquely bad? Like, that seems to be the purpose of the discussion. Which, that kind of makes sense, because they're working backwards. Like, they, in my opinion, they devalue the full kind of evil, or they diminish like the actual evil of the Holocaust by comparing it to what's happening in Gaza. And so they already did that, and so now they're working backwards from that, and now they're having this discussion about like, well, you know, the Holocaust was bad.
What? Why? Can you explain? Can you explain? I would really like you to offer some material analysis instead of just saying things, just saying, I feel this way. It is utterly ridiculous. You do bad thing that I don't like. Maybe explain why it's bad or wrong. I don't know. Normally that's what I kind of expect. They were even around during the Prohibition in the US. Who was around during the Prohibition in the US? What was? Who? What? I don't know what he's talking about. No, I've never read that. The best thing I've read about this is I listened to I was going to say Adam Friedland. I loved Adam Tooze's things about the economics of World War II and COD streaming. The most baffling part about him is that he was watching people like Michael Brooks but didn't take away anything besides making fun of conservatives. Yes, because that's how loads of these people cut their teeth, and because that's what is appealing to lots of people. Dunking on very stupid conservatives. Like, I'm sorry, yes, it's fun, it's interesting to watch, it's like good content to talk about things, but simultaneously, there are other things to talk about, and there are criticisms to make of the left. And criticizing us, we're not minimizing the Holocaust. All of us are aware that the Holocaust is a very bad thing, where a lot of Jewish people were exterminated by the Nazis alongside many other groups of people. But what we refuse to do is exceptionalize it and pretend that that was a uniquely evil aberration. And that is what this guy cannot actually get through his insanely thick skull. And I mention this, and he has no response to this, that people act as if that's the case, right? But after the First World War and the League of Nations, they could not agree that all human beings were equal under the eyes of God. How do you think that sets us up in any way for being like this not racist, this not discriminatory society and project that leads to Nazism? Because I take the opinions of like Ami Césaire seriously. Like, you know, rather than just this idiocy of just going like, I think they're minimizing the Holocaust. No, it's because I actually think right-wing politics is bad.
But it was just like, you know, there's other genocides too.
Sure, most, if not everyone who's watching this knows, there is a long-standing link between the Nazis and the Americans. Hitler spoke in the unpublished Mein Kampf about his second Mein Kampf, his admiration of the American regime and how they were a race state that was like worthy of admiration. And do
you have anything to say about this, Hutch? Like, do you have any thoughts on this? You know, apparently we're minimizing the Holocaust, and that would be objectively a very bad thing that would be angry and annoying to anyone, but you don't have anything to say?
I think in this... Just briefly, if you saw the clip of Nick Fuentes on Piers Morgan making that comparison in reverse, America, or like a theoretical white ethno-state with...
Mein Kampf, are you freaking kidding me? I don't know, maybe I took him as just stating that Westerners aren't very familiar with other genocides except for the Holocaust. I mean, even Hutch's chat seems to not be as stupid as he is at times.
Israel and saying...
British and American. Yeah, there's this amazing quote in Mamdani's dad's book, and it is real, because me and my friend had like a debate about this. He was like, no way it's true. There's an American general who starts refusing to answer questions about why certain factories weren't destroyed in the Allied bombing raids of like where they decimate entire German industrial areas, and you know, nothing came of it. Oh, the Nazi Party pre-genocide was even around in the US during Prohibition. I know, 100%, but of course, like, Hutch doesn't give a shit.
What Israel's doing in that regard is awesome. We want that. But he's also anti-Semitic, but he also hates Israel, them bombing children, so that's a little confusing, but at the same time, it's the same structure, right?
Same logic. Tucker Carlson used to make that exact same comparison.
Yeah, I mean, Nick Fuentes' views about Israel are... I don't really know what they are.
I love how he starts opening his eyes and, like, just being like that I'm about to say something crazy.
And because he's more of like a classical anti-Semite, I think historically he just used to say, well, I know he said this, he said, I don't have a dog in that fight about Israel and Palestine on the Just Pearly Things podcast. You know, a brilliant influencer of bygone times now, unfortunately. But on the podcast, you can check this. He 100% says, I don't have a dog in that fight. And largely his opinion has just changed because he's clearly seen the way the wind is going and gone like, yeah, I didn't like Jewish people anyway, so now there's a whole amount of people that I can...
I mean, at least they're doing that, because I have seen some people...
Fuentes is a classic anti-Semite, and these guys are modern anti-Semites. These people are very, 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 very stupid, because obviously, and the fact that these people are fans of Hutch is kind of indicative of what he is, because I would love to know what the through line is from opposing Israel because of its genocidal violent actions against the Palestinians, and, you know, a form of racism that denigrated Jewish people as another.
Like, say what you will about Nick Fuentes, but he's got the right take on Israel.
Kind of like poison the minds of and make them think that America is amazing and that Israel has ruined it. And like that's where the troubling anti-Semitism lies, you know, the way that the American government behaves in terms of Israel, and the fact that there are so many people who still believe in the idea of America and can just be tricked into kind of believing Israel did this.
I don't even know what that means.
It's very obvious what that means. I don't know if that's clear to all of you, but what I'm saying is that, like, what Nick Fuentes' selling point is basically pretending that America was always good and moral until Jewish people ruined it, and that Israel is this bad example of Jewish people making America bad. And what's classical versus modern anti-Semitism? I mean, there isn't really, but like I'd say like I'd say more modern anti-Semites are like talking always about like kind of shying away from it, but engaging in conspiracy theories about well, no, that's kind of the same thing. I don't really know. I guess like by a classical anti-Semite, I meant he's more of a classical racist, actually, is probably the best way to put it. Actually, you know who's a classical anti-Semite? Candace Owens, when she held up that fucking the Die Talmud Judah.
There's so many people that are what now? What did he just say?
Israel, and the fact that there are so many people who still believe in the idea of America and can just be tricked into kind of believing Israel did this.
I don't know.
Yeah, that Israel is corrupting America, that Israel controls it. I don't know how you can't compute that's like dangerous. I will admit that is very dangerous, that people will believe that Israel is corrupting America, that Israel is so morally bad that it will poison America. And it's like, no, this is what America looks like. And America supports this because they've done it all over the world.
I can't really follow that.
Chris always says this pertaining to Nazism, and he boils it down to its fundamentals. And he says that at its core, it's a hyper-racist identitarian movement that, you know, prioritizes like the perceived purity of the in-group and the perceived inferiority of the out-group. And if you just boil it down, strip it down to those fundamentals, it's it's not at all inappropriate to apply that same logic to another analogous ideology. And I think Zionism, like if there were to be another ideology that could perfectly map on to what I just described, it would be Zionism. And to gatekeep that comparison behind this, pearl clutching of oh, this is offensive, stifles the discourse. And it's a discourse that we should be having.
If anyone in the audience hasn't read it, I would recommend.
I think the difference here, well, a difference. There are obviously many differences between Israel and Nazi Germany. But I think the difference here is there's a context.
Ideologically, explain them, please. Because, of course, there are uniquenesses about the German ideology. Isaac quoting Chris. Yeah, it made me feel, Isaac quoting Chris, quoting Todd McGowan. It's real Inception over there.
The violence that's just kind of missing from the analysis. They're framing it as though Israel, throughout its history, has acted out of this sense of ethno-superiority.
It's very good when very stupid people start talking about things, because I'd love to hear this. I'd love to hear how Israel hasn't acted out of those ideologies, because who did I mention? Lord Balfour, who helped to create Israel. What did Winston Churchill think about the Palestinians? What did they think? What did David Ben-Gurion speak about as they expelled Palestinians? How do you think you create a Jewish state in a land that is not historically Jewish? How is that possible? Historically, for thousands of years, that did not have a majority Jewish population, how do you create that?
And there's no recognition of the violence that Israel has responded to historically throughout the decades.
Because I will never, ever sit there. Because I will never sit there and compare the violence of the occupied who engage in political violence in comparison to the state that engages in violence. Because I'm sure, Hutch, if you are a serious leftist, you would recognize that the Trump administration, that healthcare companies, that gambling companies engage and inflict violence upon people that may not just be direct killing them, that may not just be directly doing X or Y or Z to them. What I am saying is that in the context of the US, you would recognize that that is violent. So how dare you sit there and pretend that an apartheid state is in any way comparable to Israel? To Palestinians. How dare you sit there and say that Israel has responded to things? When they did peaceful protests, what did Israel do? Mass torture, mass murder. When they do violence, violent resistance against Israel, what do? Mass torture, mass murder. Maybe they ramp it up a bit, but they have never offered the Palestinians anything.
It's like, would there have been a blockade in Gaza if the people hadn't elected Hamas and there hadn't been over 100 suicide bombings in the previous years?
Also, by the way, Hutch's favourite go-to is bringing up a Wikipedia chart of suicide bombings in the 90s and 2000s, but never ponder what evoked those actions. Oh, I mean 100%. I don't believe that there was, hold on. The suicide bombings, there weren't suicide bombings during the first Intifada. There's one attack by one guy who grabbed a bus wheel and, drove it off a cliff. But generally, Palestinians were largely non-violent in response to huge amounts of violence by Israel. Mass torture, breaking the bones of innocent protesters. Same people who'd be like, Iran bad, would have nothing to say about that, would have nothing to say about Israel being an apartheid state. I would never draw a comparison between the ANC and their fighting against the militants of South Africa. The South African regime. Don't care. I think it was right, and I think most people would agree with that. And I don't care if they were slightly less violent in terms of what they did. It doesn't change anything. The reason that I'm on the side of the ANC is because they are, because they are the people who are fighting against apartheid. And apartheid is morally repugnant and unjustifiable. Suicide bombings are never going to change my opinion. in 1975, I think it was, Israel just carried out a massacre in Lebanon because Syria did something that it didn't like. Hold on. Listen to this. Wait. On 2nd of December 1975, Israel launched airstrikes against Palestinian refugee camps in Lebanon, killing almost 100 Palestinians, mostly civilians, in what the CIA presumed was partially a reflection of Israeli anger over a Security Council action. Right, yeah. Suicide bombings weren't why the Zionists went to Palestine. This is called The Tyranny of the Veto by Colter Lowries, who actually taught me, as you can see, he's from the Institute of Arab and Islamic Studies. If you want to read it, I'll link it. Wait, I can't link that. But anyway, Israel has just massacred huge amounts of Palestinians throughout history, you know? Like, I'm never going to sit there and spend my time condemning the victims of what Israel has done. Suicide bombings emerge later on. They're not supported by Palestinians, or not supported by all Palestinians. There are people who support them, but largely because they are a response to huge amounts of Israeli violence.
Like, would that blockade have even existed? Would a Palestinian state have already been established?
No, a Palestinian state would not have been established. As once again, your master Loner Box didn't have any idea how to respond to this. Why in the West Bank, where the guns are laid down, where there's an organization that collaborates with Israel on security, that doesn't engage in militancy, do we not have a two-state solution? Why?
If there weren't consistent acts of terrorism and violence throughout the decades.
Also, imagine framing that as the issue when Israel builds illegal settlements in Palestinian land and forces them to go on different roads. Hold on. Do any of you see this video today? Like, all these people who talk about fucking suicide bombings and violence by Palestinians against Israelis, shut your mouth, because there is no place where Palestinians do this to Israelis. Where here's the Palestinian road, here's the Israeli one. This is a bypass road to connect Israeli settlements. Because terrorism and violence is only a spectre that they can engage in. Suicide bombing scary, but, you know, Israel doing this, blowing a family of however many to pieces. They did, don't worry guys, they did it with a technologically advanced weapon. They surveilled and mass tortured Palestinians. It was okay, it was technologically advanced.
Whereas Nazi Germany, they were not responding to acts of, like, Jewish violence.
What about the Warsaw Ghetto uprising? Was that okay? That was a response to Jewish acts of violence. The Nazis would claim that Kristallnacht was a response to a night of Jewish violence.
In Europe, they were acting out of just explicit anti-Semitism.
The Holocaust.
The Zionist project is not acting. By the way, Israel's wars against Palestinians are not wars of self-defense. In Lebanon, that is the biggest lie in the world. Lonerbox tried to defend it, by the way, as well. Israel lied about Lebanon. Israel invaded Lebanon, killed tens of thousands of innocent people in Lebanon, killed over 10,000 innocent people, carried out some of the huge one of the biggest massacres across a singular day against Palestinians. They aided and abetted it and carried it out. They carried out Sabra and Shatila. They may not have been the ones perpetrating it, but Sharon knew. Sharon was personally responsible for it. And so was the Labour wing of the politics. I mean, Sharon even said that. He said, you know what you did at Tel al-Zatar years before to Rabin and to Rabin, and I'm forgetting the name of who I wanted to say, but it doesn't matter anyway. But like, Israel just lied about that. They went in because they are anti-Palestinian fanatics who did not want Palestinians to have a state.
Industry.
It is utterly ridiculous. I would love to see you debate Hutch, but I'm afraid the glare of his bald head would distract you. Well, I sent him an email saying I would love to discuss your views, but I have received no response, so Don't think that's going to happen, frankly. I'll check if I've received a response. I sent him an email saying, I saw you react to our podcast, and I would love to discuss with you your truly amazing opinions. Chris Kunzler. I didn't even send him... I always sign emails off with best, Chris Kunzler. But he did not get that. But thanks for the $5, Tyler Durden.
By Norm Finkelstein. That's like a good, interesting starting point as to... oh, camera turned off. One sec. About to start talking about the Holocaust.
Censored, man.
Yeah, the idea of like the unique position that Jewish people have due to historical suffering that exempts them from comparisons of previous genocides and committing previous genocides. And that in the Western cultural consciousness has a lot to do with the funding and proliferation.
I mean, there are obvious and substantive differences between, you know, the situation in Gaza and, for example, what Suharto did in East Timor, or what the was it the Hutus that did to the Tutsis? Which one was the group that were being slaughtered in Rwanda? I think it was the Tutsis that were being slaughtered.
By the way, even then, Todd McGowan draws a comparison by this, because basically, both the Tutsis and the Hutus would blame, would say that, like, oh, the other one's enjoying at our expense. They've got all the benefits of the colonial state bequeathed onto them. Let me see if I can find this. Tutsis killing the Hutu president, blah, 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 blah. The section meant to this time enjoyment, blah, blah, blah. Talks about how in the Hutu fantasy, Hutus hoarded enjoyment bestowed incorrectly on them by colonial authorities. Thus, it was about taking away the enjoyment that they had. If you want to read that, it's behind me. Todd McGowan, The Racist Fantasy. Banger of a book.
Right. Or what the Nazis did to the to the Jewish population and, you know, other political dissidents, academics.
Like, let's put this frankly to Hutch. Do you think, since the Second World War, that this exceptionalization of the Nazis and the things that they did to Jewish people has done a good job at stopping mass killings globally and by Western empires? Because I think if we look at the record of huge amounts of people being exterminated, we haven't really done a great job. Maybe they all weren't exterminated in the same way exact same way that the Nazis were, but we've certainly kept up a good job of mass killing people. And as someone who's so scared by the rise of scary fascist Trump, surely you would have a little second to look and to think about how maybe we've not actually done very well in confronting Nazi racist ideology. And yeah, the Bolds do not claim him.
Homosexuals, gypsies, with a heavy emphasis on Jewish people. There's fairly large, substantive, consequential differences between all of these governments.
Of specifically Holocaust education for the aims of pro-Israel groups and for the aims of jarring up fear and narratives about anti-Semitism in order to justify Israeli colonialism. And I think the one crazy statistic is that post-Holocaust, I think 10 or 15 years post-Holocaust, there were only 2 English language publications written about the Holocaust. I don't remember if it was Raoul Hilberg and one other author. And it wasn't until the 1967 war that, due to American power,
I haven't read that book in like 5 years. My copy of it is so fucked. It's like dog-eared and ruined.
Interests, things shifted immediately. Funding went into it, and
like, as a leftist, I'm looking at what's going on in Gaza, and I want it to stop. In the same way that I would have wanted the Nazi genocide to stop. Hutch, on the other hand, sees this and just is like, yeah, okay, I don't really give a shit.
Yeah. So much research was done and so much public research.
I think you misunderstand me, Akriel. I'm not making a moral judgment of Palestinians in Gaza who voted to elect Hamas and give them power in those elections. That wasn't the point of what I was saying. You could even say that could be a rational decision, because if you're a Palestinian in Gaza and you're looking at who's been representing you in terms of like who's been the party in power to sort of advocate for you, then it makes perfect sense for them to feel disillusioned and disappointed and angry at the PA and PLO for ineffective, like being ineffective. So if I was a Palestinian living in Gaza, by the
This guy doesn't know anything that he's talking about.
time that election happened, I might have just the same voted to elect Hamas. But the point is not to make a moral judgment of that. But that election did happen. There was a violent struggle for power in Gaza. Hamas was ultimately successful. They drove out
The violent struggle, by the way, was caused because they thought that there was going to be a preemptive coup.
the opposition and just took power absolutely. Haven't had a election since. And there are the point that I was trying to make by invoking that was that there were consequences to that. And it wasn't just because of the election. It was because there had been widespread violence and suicide bombings. And that was the reason why the blockade happened in the first place. I mean, this is
Yeah, yeah, amazing. You're a very clever chap.
all context that doesn't really apply at all to what happened to Jewish people during the Holocaust. Like the Jewish people during the Holocaust, the European Jewish people were just explicitly persecuted and enslaved and murdered. Systematically murdered. They murdered, what percentage of the Jewish population was murdered? The global population, wasn't it like half in the span of a few years or whatever?
Yeah. Elections have consequences. But being an apartheid state doesn't. Being an apartheid state, offering Palestinians nothing, continually abusing them, humiliating them with a violent military occupation, normalizing that around the world where huge amounts of Palestinians are slaughtered. Nah, it's because suicide bombings and that's why things are bad for Palestinians.
They had not. There was no context that is similar to sort of like the dynamic that has been occurring in that region for decades. It's a apples and oranges situation. You can't copy paste the same logic. It's completely different circumstances.
Research in terms of like when they would.
And
no, it's just because you agree that Palestinians deserve to die.
The level of violence and cruelty, just abject barbaric violence, was orders of magnitude worse during the Holocaust. Like, they'd have a point if, for example, Israelis were packing Palestinians into trains, sending them to camps that are comparable to like Dachau and Auschwitz.
What is Israel's plan with Palestinians right now? What have Israel openly been planning to do with Donald Trump? What did the president, who you hate so much, plan to do? What did he plan to do? I seem to have forgotten. I don't really remember. Didn't he plan to send Palestinians away to cultural death so Israel could extend Jewish supremacy over another bit of historic Palestine where 2 million Palestinians live? Sure, not exactly the same, but I guess who cares? Hutch, tell us your opinions about genocide.
And then you could say that, oh, that's pretty similar, but that's like, surely we would agree that that's a unique level of barbaric violence. But I think some people hear that and
it's a form of politics. I won't pretend that it's like some uniquely evil, barbaric form of violence.
They feel like you're minimizing what's happening to people in Gaza by doing that. But I feel like it's the other way around.
No, I feel like you're minimizing what's happening to people in Gaza by minimizing what's happening to people in Gaza by continually engaging in rhetoric to absolve Israel of its crimes. And also, by the way, look at the conditions in Gaza right now. Freezing cold, no tents, just tents, no structures being allowed in, flooding, weather conditions going awfully affecting people there. And it's just Holocaust worse, uniquely evil bad. And it's like, yes, the Holocaust is very bad. Well done, Hutch. Yes, we are well aware of this. Everyone talking about Palestine, who is a leftist, cares and does not want people to be exterminated on the basis of their ethnicity. Hence why they are dedicating every fiber of their being to stop that happening right now.
Like, I feel like you're taking the focus off of what it should be by making these kind of specious conflations. What is specious again, by the way? Specious. Superficially plausible. No, that's not spurious. Am I thinking I'm spurious? Not being what it purports to be, fake or false. I don't know if that claim or that term applies here. But.
Poll people before the
Who watches this? Like, what do you gain from this?
Significance among Americans and among Jewish Americans as well of the Holocaust was so much lower than it was as soon as American imperial power shifted and said, we're going to ally with Israel, and these are the things that we are going to prioritize. And then tied up with most of these organizations are, I mean, the IHR.
It also gives their political enemies way too much room to tear down their arguments. Motherfucker, the political enemies do not need an argument like this. Our political enemies will tear us down for anything related to Palestine because it's something that threatens the current status quo.
Or a definition of anti-Semitism which directly supports Israel. That's a Holocaust,
initiative.
Initiative.
Wait, hold on. Are they saying that the reason why the Holocaust has been so centered in his education of history, or are they saying that the reason why the Holocaust has been so studied and discussed was because it was like a deliberate propaganda effort in service of our imperialist goals? Is that what they're saying?
I do. Also, by the way, what would be so insane to be like the way in which it is discussed and to trying to wash our hands of it as being some uniquely evil aberration in terms of what the Nazis did, rather than confronting the fact that Europeans were mass murdering all over the world for centuries before that and have continued to since, might be more meaningful analysis than just bad.
Yeah, I mean, they shifted and said, we're going to ally with Israel, and the funding went into it. And
that sounds like what he said. It can't be that the Holocaust is discussed so much because it was uniquely violent and evil. The reason why the Holocaust is discussed so much is because it benefits the imperial core or whatever. Is that what he's saying? Gallstone, thank you so much for the membership, buddy.
So much research was done and so much public research in terms of like when they would poll people before, the significance among Americans and among Jewish Americans as well of the Holocaust was so much lower than it was as soon as American imperial power shifted and said,
among Jewish people in America? What claim did he just make?
We're going to among Americans, and among funding went into it. And so much research was done and so much public research in terms of like when they would poll people before, the significance among Americans and among Jewish Americans as well of the Holocaust was so much lower than it was as soon as American.
Chris, please never go bald. Look how thick my hair is. You honestly think that I'm going to go bald? Jesus Christ.
Imperial power shifted and said,
I would love to see. I mean, maybe he's right. I don't know.
I wouldn't actually give a shit if I went bald, by the way. I don't care. Who cares? What can you do?
Maybe he's right. That seems pretty hard to...
Oh, whoops.
The importance of the Holocaust was significantly lower amongst American Jewish people until America started to talk more about...
By the way, this guy's never read a book. This is literally talked about in Norman Finkelstein's book. And I don't care if you've read a book, actually. I just care when you make bold pronouncements and act as if you know loads about this. Imagine a podcast between Girl with a Microphone and Ethan Klein. That would be awesome. Imagine that, a podcast. Girl with a Microphone's just like, did you see misogynist white leftist on the internet? And Hutch just goes, yeah. And then she goes, I like Ethan Klein a lot.
About the Holocaust, or focused on the Holocaust in service of their imperialist agenda, I guess is what he said.
We're going to ally with Israel, and these are the things that we are going to prioritize.
A lot of American Jews didn't really care that much about...
Like in Israel, by the way, there was like a specific politicization of the Holocaust that occurred under Menachem Begin. But of course, like, this is not someone who cares. Like, none of these people care. Like, I don't think you have to be an academic to talk about stuff in the internet. I don't think I'm better than people. People say so much interesting stuff who've never researched the topic in the same way that I have, and are way more interesting at talking about it than a lot of people I've met who are excellent academics who just have never been very good at, like, presenting about this topic, yet simultaneously, like, just kind of being this dismissive of everything with having no basic understanding, where all you have ever wanted to do with your platform is to just kind of like, I don't even really know what the point of what these people do and what they think is, like, meaningful about anything. But either way, what I'm talking about is these people just literally learn debate bro talking points. They purport to be leftists because they don't like the worst things in the world, and they think that there are some bad people out there. However, like, they don't care about anything. They've never engaged with anything, and they never will, because that's not what this is about for them. It's about a bit of money flowing into their coffers.
The Holocaust, until America said, hey, we're going to talk about this a lot now.
And then tied up with most of these organizations are, I mean, the IHRA definition of anti-Semitism, which directly supports Israel, that's a Holocaust, Yeah.
IHRA definition of anti-Semitism. The IHRA, okay, what is anti-Semitism? Adopt the following non-legally binding working definitions of anti-Semitism. This is from 2016. Anti-Semitism is a certain perception of Jews, which may be expressed as hatred toward Jews. Rhetorical and physical manifestations of anti-Semitism are directed toward Jewish or non-Jewish individuals and or their property, toward Jewish community institutions and religious facilities. That seems like a very uncontroversial definition of anti-Semitism. Is that what he's talking about? Well, I guess there's more bullet points here. Oh. Okay.
I also want to note that, by the way, this definition of anti-Semitism, with the people who would actually be meting this out, who would be, like, kind of choosing what it is. Listen to this part. Of course, all the stuff about the Holocaust. Okay, yeah, fine. Accusing Jewish citizens of being more loyal to the state of Israel or alleged priorities of Jews worldwide. Like, yeah, okay, accusing every Jewish person of that and being incapable is ridiculous. Yes, of course. Applying double standards by requiring of it a behavior expected or demanded, not expected or demanded of any other nation. The people meeting this out are like, oh, Israel, you expect us not to be uber racist. Everyone's uber racist. Denying Jewish people the right to self-determination, e.g. by claiming that the existence of the state of Israel is a racist endeavor. You cannot claim that creating a Jewish ethno-state in Palestine is a racist, apparently. You cannot claim that a project that was written by people who did not think all human beings were equal because of social Darwinism was racist. Apparently that's wrong. You cannot think that a project that was supported by anti-Semites to get Jewish people out of Europe is racist. You can't make those comparisons. They're not allowed. Drawing comparisons of contemporary Israeli policy to that of the Nazis, holding Jews collectively responsible for actions of the state of Israel, blaming every Jewish person for that, yes, okay, but people who support that, there is no problem with saying, hey, you support Israel, that's problematic.
They go on to say manifestations might include the targeting of the state of Israel, conceived as a Jewish collectivity. However, criticism of Israel, similar to that leveled against any other country, cannot be regarded as anti-Semitic. That seems completely uncontroversial as well. It's certainly true that someone who is motivated by anti-Semitism might target the state of Israel rhetorically or otherwise. That doesn't seem controversial.
I don't blame him for not knowing every single part of the IHRA. I mean, I know the part, obviously, about comparing Israel to the Nazis and denying and saying that Israel is a racist endeavor.
At all. That's just true, right? And then they go on to elaborate. I don't know if he's looking at something more recent. I don't know if they updated.
It's literally
These are the exact talking points of Martin Sellner, the Austrian who popularized the term remigration, that the elite are using memory of the Holocaust to break nationalist sentiment and force allegiance to Israel.
Yes, that is exactly what's going on. Thank you, Hutch. You and your audience are very clever.
Okay, so I'm clicking on this tweet from Martin Sellner. I don't know who this person is.
And yes, he actually says, he actually is just the Tim Pool of the left.
But his Twitter bio says, remigration saves the nation. Also very disturbing, by the way, that DHS is adopting that language too. Have you seen that?
Also, by the way, I clicked on your chat history. One thing you said, which I found interesting, which is worth bringing up. So just saying Ben Shapiro has a more vested interest in Israel than the US does is anti-Semitism. That's crazy. I mean, of course, like Ben Shapiro just has a vested interest in extremist racism. Like that's what he's interested in.
DHS, like a couple tweets recently talking about remigration, which is a pretty explicitly Nazi.
Do you think that Norman Finkelstein wrote this with this exact thought in mind?
The term that people use. Remigration is the idea of like immigrants going back to the country of origin. En masse. It's like pretty dark. Martin Sellner said
it's pretty dark, and it's one of the things that I am very, very, very worried about, because what did the Nazis begin with? It wasn't going back to countries of origin. It was sending them over to Madagascar, but then it was realized to be impractical and far too difficult.
Important to repeatedly emphasize that all of this, which is currently happening, is only possible because, in particular, most boomers have been deliberately mentally broken, conditioned, and reprogrammed with guilt neurosis. The anti-German identity politics of Holocaust education, in quotation marks, is the origin of the anti-German migration policy.
Do you think that there is a similarity between racists who imply... I mean, some of these people even cook in anti-Semitic conspiracies and say George Soros and Jewish people generally have brought... In fact, Tommy Robinson says this, and the funny thing is if we're talking about modern anti-Semitism, Tommy Robinson is a perfect example of kind of what I mean by modern anti-Semitism. Tommy Robinson is anti-Semitic. A few weeks ago, he went on a rant about how liberal Jewish organizations are bad because they supported migration of Jewish people, of immigrants to the UK, that they've helped to facilitate it. But then he loves Israel, so he kind of washes and wrings his hand of any kind of actual anti-Semitism. It's like, is it William Evans Gordon? William Evans Gordon was like this straight up really anti-Semitic piece of shit in the UK conservative. He said that Jewish people would never integrate into society. But Chaim Weizmann, a Polish Jewish chemist, and an unbelievably important figure in the Balfour Declaration, it is utterly ridiculous. Anybody have anything on propaganda and co? Kind of feel like they're taking the concept of Pax Judaica and using it to pump. I've not actually seen that. I mean, I've seen the video about like Pax Judaica. I haven't looked into what it actually is, or what they're actually talking about. But I'm not gonna lie, you guys probably know about me. I'm kind of hyper fixated on the United Arab Emirates as well. I'm very much interested in what the United Arab Emirates are doing, and I don't really think that we should place all the onus on Israel for the Middle East that it's creating. But I don't know what they're talking about that. But thank you for the $5, Half-Baked Destruction. But I've seen they've made some good videos previously. I'm not like a #1 fan of theirs. I think this is what Chaim Weizmann said. I think our people were rather hard on him. The Aliens Bill in England and the movement which grew around it were a natural phenomenon which might have been foreseen. This was really anti-Semitic. William Evans Gordon had no particular anti-Jewish prejudices. He was sincerely ready to encourage any settlement of Jews almost anywhere in the British Empire, but he failed to see why the ghettos of London or Leeds should be made into a branch of the ghettos of Warsaw and Pinsk. Sir William Evans Gordon gave me some insight into the psychology of the settled citizen. He was an anti-Semite, but because he supported Zionism, they liked him. Hello, Tony.
Anyone who denies this and ignores it as a problem is only treating symptoms, not causes. You aren't kidding. It's like, yeah, it's the same logic applied in a different way. That guy doesn't exist with the tier 1 membership. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. He's saying the IHRA definition of anti-Semitism, which benefits Israel? Is that what
As soon as American imperial power shifted and said, we're going to ally with Israel, and these are the things that we are going to prioritize, and then tied up with most of these organizations are, I mean, the IHRA definition of anti-Semitism, which directly supports Israel.
Which directly supports Israel. But when I'm looking at the IHRA, what they say about Israel is,
by the way, he was looking at the same website I was.
Manifestations of anti-Semitism might include the targeting of the state of Israel, conceived of as a Jewish collectivity. However, criticism of Israel, similar to that leveled against any other country, cannot be regarded as anti-Semitic. Anti-Semitism frequently charges Jews with conspiring to harm humanity, and it is often used to blame Jews for, quote, why things go wrong. It is expressed in speech, writing, visual forms, and action, and employs sinister stereotypes and negative character traits. I want to be charitable, give him the benefit of the doubt. I don't know if I should for... No.
I also love how these people, like Ethan's the same. They're allegedly so concerned by like Nazi rhetoric and... apparently denying the Holocaust and minimizing it, but they're just like, I'd like to give you the benefit of the doubt on this one. It kind of really does show the seriousness of what they're talking about. Like that they don't actually give a shit. It's just like, I am this kind of leftist, so I don't like you. I don't really understand why I don't like you.
I'm looking for other mentions of Israel. Using the symbols and images associated with classic anti-Semitism to characterize Israel or Israelis. But he's talking about like blood libel.
What does the UAE have to do with Anthony Joshua being in a car crash?
Accusing Jewish citizens of being more loyal to Israel or to the alleged priorities of Jews worldwide than to the interests of their own nations. Accusing Jews as a people or Israel as a state of inventing or exaggerating the Holocaust. Maybe that's what he's talking about? Holding Jews collectively responsible for the actions of the state of Israel. Drawing comparisons. Okay, maybe this is what he's talking about. Drawing comparisons of contemporary...
How did it take so long to find?
Israeli policy to that of the Nazis. I think we found it. I think that's what he's specifically talking about.
That's a Holocaust,
initiative.
Initiative, yeah. And none of this has anything really to do with the aspect of like the needs of funding historical research. God damn it.
You know what would really help their cases is if there were quotes from these individuals. I think this person's name is... I already forgot this person's name. I've seen some of their videos. Don't know who this person is. But if they were on the record as comparing other more contemporary genocides to Nazi Germany, or are they almost or entirely...
What example of contemporary genocide would you like me to talk about? Because... I'll be frank here, the contemporary genocide which I have studied the most, which is most in line with the research that I have done, is the Gaza genocide. But I don't deny that one could make the comparisons with the Rwandan genocide. In fact, I would recommend that you maybe pick up a book and look at Todd McGowan on that.
Exclusively focused on making the comparison of Israel to Nazi Germany. if there's other examples of them talking about other more modern genocides, and then using the same language, doing direct comparisons to Nazi Germany, then I think that it would take a little bit of the little bit of like oomph out of that charge. But if they're going out of their way to only like focus on Israel as being like the only kind of modern comparison to Nazi Germany, then I think it.
Oh, I don't think it's just Israel. I think the modern Republican Party is.
It does not help their case at all.
Sorry.
Barry Weiss has purchased StreamYard. She's expanding.
Yeah, no more StreamYard for Noah.
No more anti-Zionist content. You're being censored.
Barry Weiss is in my camera's battery, pulling wires.
But yeah, no, that I'm happy you brought that book up because in it he points out that like the majority of Jewish people post-Holocaust did not have sympathies for Israel. America.
Except as an occasional object of charity, Israel practically dropped from sight in American Jewish life soon after the founding of the state. In fact, Israel is not important to American Jews. In his 1957 survey, Nathan Glazer reported that Israel had remarkably slight effects on the inner life of American Jewry. Membership in the Zionist Organization of America dropped from hundreds of thousands in 1948 to tens of thousands in 1960. Well, hang on a second. There seems to be a pretty obvious reason for this, right? Can anybody...
You don't know anything about this! Oh! By the way, also, if you had bothered to have any understanding, or if you'd bothered to read a book or know anything, the Zionist project up until 1967 was failing. You can read about this. Things felt stagnant. There were difficulties within the country. But of course, like, I do debate on internet.
Guess what I'm about to say? What is the obvious reason why
And yeah, of course, it was mostly a European thing. And they got the state and it didn't look so good out there. It wasn't so promising as it is now.
membership of the Zionist Organization of America would drop from hundreds of thousands to tens of thousands between 1948 and 1960s. What is the obvious reason? You could say, I'm sure that's true, that many of them moved, but I think the obvious reason was because the Zionist organizations existed as advocacy groups trying to establish a state of Israel. That was the point of the Zionist movements.
Yes, and Israel was a nascent state at that point.
They were trying to find a way to have their own state, to get their own state. And then what happened in 1948? So yeah, I mean, like...
And what was going on? Was that state fully done? Or was it fully complete?
I don't think, like, using this as a way to suggest that Israel kind of stopped being super important to American Jews is a bit ridiculous. Only 1 in 20 American Jews cared to visit Israel before June 1967.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I feel like you have the best response to it. What caused the resurgence in popularity? Zionism went away after 1948.
In his 1956 re-election, which occurred immediately after he forced Israel's humiliating withdrawal from the Sinai, the already considerable Jewish support for Eisenhower increased. In the early 1960s, Israel faced a drubbing for the Eichmann, blah, 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 blah. A drubbing for the Eichmann? Wait, what?
I mean, I'm really amazed that you don't know what this is and you feel confident to talk to other people about Palestine, because I can guess what this is. It's because of the way that they violated Argentina's sovereignty by capturing Eichmann. It will be that, I'm pretty sure.
I don't know where this sentence is going.
I feel like that is the logical conclusion to draw it towards. Like, Eichmann was bad, and I don't care that Israel did that in many ways, but also it's the precedent of Israel continually flaunting international law that's problematic.
Except as an occasional object of charity, Israel practically dropped from sight in American Jewish life soon after the founding of the state. What percentage of American Jewish people immigrated to Israel? Following the establishment of the State of Israel, what percentage?
I got it right. I got it right. In the early 1960s, Israel even faced a drubbing for the Eichmann kidnapping from sections of elite Jewish opinion like Joseph Proskauer, past president of the American Jewish Committee, Harvard historian Oscar Handlin, and the Jewish-owned Washington Post. The kidnapping of Eichmann, Eric Fromm opined, is an act of lawlessness of exactly the type of which the Nazis themselves have been guilty. There you go.
Of American...
Are we the baddies?
Jewish people moved...
You could also just search that because it was obviously just going to be on... it was just going to be on Wikipedia.
Israel.
It is utterly ridiculous. Doesn't count if it isn't ChatGPT, Chris. Thanks for the $2. I hadn't considered that. I also find it really interesting that, like, when I debated Lonabox, fuck knows if he was using ChatGPT. I feel like he doesn't need to. But he was also just probably looking over at his chat, like, the whole time, whereas I wasn't.
Surprisingly, we actually don't have a lot of great numbers there.
Jewish people, I should say. And actually sympathy with the Holocaust post-World War II was actually seen as like a communist sympathy, so it wasn't something that was...
Sorry. Hold on.
And actually sympathy with the Holocaust post-World War II was actually seen as like a communist sympathy, so it wasn't something that was...
That was even mentioned in the Woody Allen film I saw, Annie Hall.
You know, openly expressed so often. And then, yeah, as you mentioned, the
sympathy with the Holocaust was primarily a communist thing? Is that what you said?
67 Six-Day War.
It's very obvious that he's referencing a book by Norman Finkelstein.
Israelis proved their military might, as well as other, like, Cold War politics in the region played a role. And the rest is history. The U.S.
The rest is politics. Hashtag Nopolitichere, next collab.
Jumped at it, and they understood the position that Israel could play in
Little Boots, did I say thank you for the gifted subs? Thank you for 2 gifted subs, buddy.
Relation to their imperial ambitions. And that's where we are now.
I think that also people want to kind of wash their hands of it, and that's such a major part of it. The way in which Nazism is viewed as like this unique, bizarre aberration that came out of nowhere, that was just this thing that was like bad and evil. In one of my favorite books about this,
where the fuck is this going, guys?
This guy is so incredibly stupid. I have to hand it to him. Like, this is unbelievable stupidity. Like, unbelievable levels of stupidity. I doubt he knows what the word aberration means. Like, the reason I would use the term aberration is because it is to act as if Europeans had not done those kind of things. As if those kind of things were some kind of... like, uniqueness. That they came from nowhere. That they have no precedent in history. It is utterly ridiculous. It's technically impossible, according to Newtonian optics, for Hutch to learn information, as his bald head acts as a reflective surface, which reflects all waves and knowledge. What? I never knew that. I never knew that. Respectfully, I did not know that. Thanks for the £10, Greg. Hutch will commonly break up people giving context and explanations while he thanks subs for donos and takes the punch out for people listening. Is this like a consistent tactic? It is truly amazing of just like going, what? Imagine if that was the... Would any of you watch me if the analysis I gave of all politics was just, what? Did Asmongold really just say this?
I think that also people want to kind of wash their hands of it, and that's such a major part of it. The way in which Nazism is viewed as like this unique, bizarre aberration.
I also love how stupid his chat is, like horseshoe theory. No. This is not horseshoe theory. This is taking Nazism for what it is. A political ideology that is bad because of its politics. It is not bad because it is evil and barbaric. Of course, we can describe it as those things, but ultimately, the kernel of what it is that it is a political movement that led to this. A political movement that was inspired by other colonial movements, by other racist imperialist movements.
That came out of nowhere, that was just this thing that was like bad and evil. In one of my favorite books about this, he talks about the Indiana Jones films, and there's 2 lines across, I think, the first and third one. And in the first one, he's like, snakes, I hate those guys. And in the last one, he goes, Nazis, I hate those guys. And in the film, they're basically, it might be actually the other way around, film-wise. But anyway, in the film, the Nazis are just like as evil as snakes. They're just like an evil bad guy for Indiana Jones to kind of conquer, and they're bad because they're evil because of their hubris rather than...
Indiana Jones conquered Nazi Germany? I don't even...
Is this guy a fucking idiot? You think that you are qualified to debate Hutch? Did you graduate from the School of Machinima Respawn? It's seriously depressing seeing this guy I watched play Gmod spew this brain rot. Thanks for the $10. Did he used to play Gmod? What was he playing on Gmod? Thanks, Nevada Jones. But, I mean, yeah, I mean, I was never very good at Call of Duty, so maybe that's something to consider. My KD was probably sub 1.0, so, you know. Sorry, Hutch. It was never really where my talents lie. Maybe I should just retire on the basis of that. And also, that's not what I said, and I think that this is a point that goes for a lot of stuff. There's even a YouTube video which is like, Indiana Jones's depiction of Nazis is great and, like, awesome. It's not true. The Nazis are just like baddies in so much like video game, so much film, literature. I'm not so sure. I haven't read much literature about the Nazis, but I'd assume you could make the argument in many cases. But basically, they're just like baddies. They're not like bad because because of their politics being, you know, extremist racism. It's just like they're baddies who want to get bad things to do more bad things.
Their politics. And I think that is one of the most important things to realize.
I know a trick to win prop hunt against Hutch. If you hide as a book, Hutch will never be interested because he could never read it.
Because so many people wanted to be like, no, we weren't doing anything like this. And before the show, I was literally talking to Isaac about this. I was shocked to read this, and I shouldn't have been. But one of the things I learned recently was that the League of Nations couldn't agree on, after the First World War, on writing into law that all human beings were created equal, because Lord Balfour, who wrote the Balfour Declaration, which basically guaranteed the creation of a Jewish state in Palestine, which was an incredibly racist document, refused to say that a Central African person was in any way equal to a European person because of social Darwinism.
Why is there a crab on the screen?
And like, you know, the fact that so many people want to pretend that the West are like awesome heroes and that, you know, we may have been a little bit bad, but this was...
No problem. We're about to finish, by the way, Cade Durkin. Thanks for the £5. I'm literally about to finish now, and then we'll do a bit on Somalia. I like the crab, though. But yeah, just like on this amazing topic of just sitting there and gawping at this, it's kind of very injurious to this guy and his whole narrative about, like, Democrats good and West good and Middle Easterners bad, even if he won't so proudly enunciate it. The thing is that when it comes to the context of this is literally saying that the people who beat the Germans after the First World War, they were also very, 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 very racist. Yeah, there's only like a very short, this is the end. I like the crab.
Just like a one-off thing that happened. This was all of Europe's crime.
Henry, get me a crab. Henry, make a crab go across the screen. Henry, do it now.
This was colonialism's crime. And I think that this is a problem when people act as if it is a unique thing, when it is a point of reference for, you know, a society that has become so racist, where it is acting in a Israel is in a self-destructive, acting in a self-destructive way.
This is also, by the way, a really good point about, apparently a really good point about racism generally. Racism is enjoyment because it always occurs at this self-destructive level where you know you shouldn't be doing it, where you engage in something that is literally bad for your project. And Israel's genocidal mania versus just making a two-state solution and getting to keep their ethno-state forever. I am sorry, it's so stupid. It's so stupid to maintain this. I know why Israel does it, don't get me wrong, because it is racist to its core. But logically, right, and this is a growing thought amongst Israelis and many of them who are upset by Netanyahu. It's not because they're mass killing Palestinians. It's because they know that this is a fundamental threat to their project. Like this global isolation that some of them are like, we're going to be strong forever. No, you are not. You are tearing apart even the right-wing base, the thing that you have sucked off for ages. I mean, seemingly you still have Hutch and like these other internet leftists who make like money out of like Israelis liking it, but this racism is like so self-destructive.
I'm sorry, finding a two-state solution with the Palestinian people where you can get left alone by the international community, sell your bullshit liberal vision whilst continuing, racist policies against them is a far better position to be in than engaging in a mass slaughter that has pushed you to this point of, being a global outcast. And I know it's a minute thing, but I don't know if either of you have seen this. 2 Eurovision winners.
Also, that's why, by the way, you said it's like smoking. Of course, smoking is enjoyment. And what makes smoking so enjoyable is not merely just that smoking is like cathartic, that it relieves stress and all of these things, but also the fact that like when you smoke a cigarette that you also know it's killing you, right? You know it's a wrong thing to do. It's like how they describe psychoanalytic enjoyment, because Freud writes it in Beyond the Pleasure Principle is where it actually comes from. In terms of what it is, pleasure is when you eat a bag or when you eat a singular cookie. Enjoyment is when you eat the whole sleeve. You know it's bad for you. You know it's unhealthy. You know that it doesn't even feel good, but you just keep on doing it. I only smoke on that loud pack.
One from 1994 and one from last year have returned their awards. 5 of the countries from Eurovision have pulled out. And apparently, I heard this the other day, 160 million people watch Eurovision. So many people are being denied their slop. And at this point, now Eurovision is targeting Noah. They're taking...
All right, let's get to the...
Yeah, that's where I'm watching up to. I'm not watching him look at the lawsuit because I just wanted to show you, this is what my enemies are like. This is what the people who will try and take down and bring down the Nopolitichere podcast. The handsome lads, the haired-up lads of Chris and Isaac. These are our enemies. Jouissance, yes. Love the racial entitlement they have over others. Yeah, and all racist enjoyment, by the way, comes from the punishment of others. That's what they want. That's what they want. But yeah, I think we'll finish there. I am truly amazed. I knew this guy was a bit of an idiot, but I didn't know it was this crazy, that the idiocy had reached such heights. But, I guess that's how it is sometimes. My enemies be whack. Judge me by my enemies. My enemies can't read a short excerpt of a very readable Norman Finkelstein book. Ethan's basement is going to have a fun time editing that. Genocide is bad. Does the Office fall? Well, it's not actually a fourth wall break because it's actually a what's it called? Like a real sketch comedy. no, Zins are brilliant. Zins are genuinely brilliant. Your enemies are bold in every metaphysical sense. Bold sexually. The bold man who wears a toupee, the bold man who wears a hat, the bold man who wears a do-rag, and the bold man who doesn't hide it. All are evil. I'm joking. I like the bold people. I have friends who are the bold people. He did actually, Ethan Klein and the H3 podcast did do a segment together where they did Hassan has hit a new low. It really is like, I just looked at his channel. It is, by the way, just like Loner Box style content of just this. The H3 lawsuit debate with Pisco. It really looks like actually Loner Box's it really does just look exactly like Loner Box's kind of thing. Which is why I'm so glad of Loner Box is actually talking about Asmongold right now. Like, it looks really, really similar. Candace Owens broke Tim Pool. He didn't have a video. And then there's that. This photo of me is grotesque. This image of me is grotesque. I know it was made by that Stardust person, but yeah, I'm just looking at, like, his things here. Who was the Kunzler fan who challenged him? But yeah, Kunzler returns for debate round 2. But yeah, they just look exactly the same. It's just like a Loner Box ripoff. I don't even know if it's a Loner Box waiting room. I'm not sure that there is a Loner Box waiting room. But yeah. Hassan is for... But yeah, I mean, I just... One day, maybe I'll do a research stream on here. But, like, why would you want to watch me read an article? I don't imagine that there are many of you who want to do that. Actually, one thing I will talk about. I was about to start the segment on Somaliland, which won't be... I've got to call Isaac, and I'm not at my 100% best, so it'll probably be about 40, 50 minutes about that. I have to be done by 8, because I got to speak to this guy, Isaac. What was I going to say? Oh, next year, I promise that there's going to be a big drive up until March, and then I'm going to be in Montreal for a bit, and it'll probably just be a heavier focus on the podcast. But I promise you, I'll have members-only content out and stuff. I don't know what that'll be. I think I still need to do my gaming stream. But yeah, I think I'm really glad for all of you, and I think we'll have a stream tomorrow depending on how I'm feeling. This has been quite taxing in terms of I just do not feel my best. As you can probably tell, my voice sounds horrible because of my nose. But what I will say is I'm incredibly grateful for this year. The fact that we're on 43,000 subscribers is truly amazing. I'm not finishing the stream, by the way. I'm doing the Somaliland stuff, but it is, like, truly amazing that, you know, it's not that clickbaity a day. I guess we have Asmongold's name in the title. It is utterly ridiculous. And we're reacting to Hutch, but yeah. The Crab Man has gifted you crabs. What the hell? Oh, Henry actually did that. Thank you, Henry. But yeah. Get well, buddy. I'm fine. I'm much better. I feel terrible, though. My girlfriend sat downstairs not feeling very well. So what can you do, eh? What can you do? But yeah, like the stream and just keep watching it. Workout stream for all the thirsty ladies. Pfft, I don't know. It's snowing here in America, KKKKKA. Right, let's actually get into Somaliland. The amount of places that are going on here, sorry, that Israel and the UAE are recognizing and bringing up. Jubaland, Somaliland, Puntland. What are with all these lands? What's next? What the hell is next? Based Chris talks to girls. Yeah, I have spoken to a woman. Okay, right. Let's get into Somaliland discourse, because I'm sure that many of you are interested in this, and it is pretty interesting. By the way, there is actually a really, like, this is probably the most important Middle East news in quite a while. There is a growing split between Saudi Arabia and the UAE, and also, by the way, southern Yemen might secede. So I genuinely don't know. I genuinely don't know, like, well, I say I genuinely don't know. I do kind of know to an extent what's going on. But this is very complex Middle East news that probably won't be reported as much. And once again, I will say that this is a problem for, like, people, you know, who've learned about Palestine. Most people are unaware of like most people are unaware of what's going on there. Sorry, actually, I had said I wasn't going to talk about this. We'll just have a watch of this.
Will you support an attack, Israeli attack on Iran if Iran will not have a deal? If Iran will continue with their ballistic missiles and also nuclear weapons?
If they will continue with the missiles, yes. The nuclear, fast.
Oh my goodness. So Trump's giving open endorsements to striking Iran. Iran's also having big protests that I'm trying to discern what they're... I mean, I know what they're about. Sorry, my stream just crashed. Iran had big protests today, which are basically economically related, but... troublesome things are happening with Trump and Netanyahu. I'm sure there's other horrendous shit going on with these two clowns, but... this is really the thing that's seemingly taking off is like them talking about Iran's ballistic missile program as a means to, like, as the justification for targeting.
I think you will. How do you...
Okay, there's another clip of him asking for a pardon. We'll watch this and then we'll get to Puntland.
Pardon?
Sorry, Somaliland.
You will. How do you not? He's a wartime prime minister who's a hero. How do you not give a pardon? You know, I think it's a very hard thing not to do it. I spoke to the president, and it's on. I mean, he tells me it's on its way.
Mr. President.
If you want to, by the way, if you want to know about southern Yemen, I know Jacobin has been on an odd streak recently. Jacobin, Helen, Lackner. I don't know. Wait. I shall show you what I mean by an odd streak. I'll pull this up on a... I'm really getting better at streaming. But anyway... for some reason, they were talking about Quentin Tarantino, but if you didn't know, so I may pronounce this incorrectly, and one of an Arab in here may correct me. Hadramaut, which is for the first time the Southern Transitionary Council, which is like the UAE-backed separatists in Yemen, are basically going to the STC have basically gone into it and they've taken it out, like on the process of taking it over. It is a hugely oil-rich part. It has a very small population, but as Helen Lackner writes here, it hasn't really been involved in the Yemeni civil war. I'm actually going to read her book, even though I have a lot to read. I'm going to read Yemen in Crisis next. Hazramaut. Is that how you say it? Did I get that right? Oh my god, I've accidentally zoomed in because I can't read Arabic when it's that small. Hazramaut. I don't know if that's right. Hazramaut. Hazra. No, wait, what is it? Iskat. Damn. But no, wait. The people. What's the people want the fall of the regime? An-Nizam. Why can't I remember it? I haven't said it in recently. Ashab yurid iskat an-Nizam. So it's like Hadramat. Is that right? This is East Yemen. Wait, let's look at a map of Yemen. Yemen is so big, by the way, and the reason that this is such an interesting story is because this is causing frictions between the UAE and Saudi Arabia. So in Saudi Arabia basically back the IRG in Yemen. They don't back the Houthis. This has no involvement with the Houthis at all. It just doesn't. The Houthis are mostly concentrated in northern Yemen. The people of Hadramis are not very pro-Houthi. It's been a place that's largely uninvolved. But now, this is basically where the UAE are taking over. And Saudi Arabia even launched airstrikes on the situation. I was hoping that it was going to show... it was going to have a map of, like, the governance of it. But we'll have to look at a different map. No, I'm not looking at that. Kingdom of Hadramaut. I'm just struggling. Hadram is this is Hadram, so like here in Yemen is here, and they've also gone into here as well. The UAE is making major moves, just as Somaliland has been recognized by Israel. I mean, the Somaliland stuff is crazy. Let's watch this video. Israel was the first to recognize it. I actually read a pro-Israel report on it. I can't read books anymore. Yeah, I'm not the best reader because I love getting in all the detail, but it's why I'm also so good at remembering it. 50% of Yemen and 80% of oil reserves and gas. Is that how much is in there?
Benjamin Netanyahu.
Has there been a split? Well, no. I mean, the South Yemen movement, there's basically the internationally recognized IRG, and then there's... Wait, did I copy the link for... There's the internationally UN recognized IRG, which is kind of ostensibly civilian, which is the internationally recognized government, sorry, and that's what the Saudis back, whereas the Southern Transitionary Council, which is just like a mercenary force, which will be loyal to the UAE, is what they're supporting.
Netanyahu's decision to formally recognize the self-declared Republic of Somaliland has been met with condemnation in Somalia. Officials strongly rejected the move, reaffirming the nation's unity and territorial integrity.
The move of Netanyahu will never be acceptable, and it is an offense. Also, it is against the international laws. Somalia asserts and states in a loud voice that northern regions, namely Somaliland, are part of Republic of Somalia. We utterly tell the world that is...
This is also, by the way, against Turkey. This is against many people who are much bigger fans of a united Somalia, and it's a huge undercut and a very, very, very dangerous decision in the sense of, like, look, I'm no expert in Abu Shabaab, Al-Shabaab, sorry, not Abu Shabaab, Al-Shabaab, Abu Shabaab is dead. RIP. No, not RIP. But anyway, Al-Shabaab are pretty powerful, and an interference like this is not going to be good for them. But they're recognizing this. If any of you can't guess why the UAE is recognizing this, the country who's obsessed with ports and hates the Houthis, it's not promising. So they're recognizing Somaliland. They back Puntland. They set up a mercenary force in Puntland back in 2010 called the Puntland Maritime Police Force that spent its time like going after like Somali pirates, basically. But yeah, Israel really setting themselves up to fuck up their own material circumstances. Yeah, I mean, in the case of Yemen as well, dictatorships don't last forever, and I think that these modern techniques of repression involving AI, involving mass surveillance states, may last a while, don't get me wrong, but they're not unbreakable. And they have this massive problem of, like, the UAE are just full-on Israel shills. Like, undeniably, the UAE are Israel shills. Somaliland is going to join the Abraham Accords. But yeah, it probably just boils down to the Somalis were too good at trolling. But yeah, so this is what the UAE is getting. Look at this, just like a critical port in the Red Sea, and now places potentially with the US backing to launch attacks on Yemen. But even if the US is beefing Mogadishu, the rise of Islamic militancy in Africa is undeniable. It is huge, and this will only fuel it. It will only legitimize it, because whilst you may see some people online who purport to support this, whilst you might see the UAE pretending that they have this new sanitized, amazing form of Islam and an understanding of the region, bullshit. It will fall apart at some point, and these false visions of dictatorship are just not going to work forever. And by the way, if the Houthis are sent into a death spiral, mark my words, the things that the Houthis and the things that Iran can inflict on the rest of the region are not to be balked at. Maybe they won't destroy Tel Aviv. I mean, they showed that they can hit it pretty fucking hard in major parts of Israel. But I tell you what they can do with cheap drones. I mean, I was watching Shahed drones smash into, like, buildings in Ukraine and blow them up. Imagine what that does to an oil field in Saudi Arabia. Imagine what that does to a water treatment plant in Dubai. Imagine what that does to an airport in Dubai. Put those things into a death spiral that, by the way, have outlasted Saudi bombardment, outlasted Emirati bombardment, that have outlasted American, Israeli bombardment. They have outlasted all of those things. The Houthis I'm speaking about here. They, whatever they may be, part of their logic of standing up to America and standing up to Israel is popular. Yemeni people have strong solidarity with Palestine. Bahraini people have strong solidarity with Palestine. Many people, Saudis, like, I know you may meet Saudis who don't. I know the Saudi government is a disappointment, and I know many of them may have misguided views about what MBS is going to do about Palestine, what he's going to do about things. But Saudi people generally have solidarity with the Palestinian people. And drone warfare is terrifying. Drone warfare is simple, and it can have significant effects against sophisticated militaries who don't yet know how to deal with it. Maybe they will invent some kind of way to defeat it. But look at what the Houthis were managing. They managed to hit Eilat in Israel. They did not manage... they managed to hit Eilat. They managed to hit Israel. Hezbollah managed to... Do you remember when Hezbollah got a drone into like an Israeli canteen and killed like 17 Israeli... killed like a few Israeli soldiers and wounded scores of them? Like, I don't think people realize that, like, mocking these movements is kind of foolish. I remember when this girl uploaded a video where she went, the Houthis are not to be played with. And all of these, like, military expert Western chauvinists were like, wrong, here's an American destroyer. America bombed the shit out of Yemen. They mass killed civilians, and they did not achieve it. And also, by the way, Oliver, I've seen you keep talking about the UAE. One thing I wanted to note as well that I read recently, and I'd kind of gone over my head, MBS asked Donald Trump to intervene in Sudan against the RSF.
Is the case.
And Mogadishu residents agree.
This is something regrettable, that today Somali people and Somali territory are taking recognition from Israelis.
For Somaliland to be recognized is a great boon to us, and we do not accept it and will not accept it.
What do you think that, like, by the way, I'm not saying these, like, just general people who have negative views of Israel are all going to be joining up to militant Islamic groups, but in a place with, like, a worsening financial situation and more reason to hate the West divvying up their country, what do you think that that's going to do to Al-Shabaab?
Somalia belongs to itself. There is no such thing as something called Somaliland.
This signifies that the conflict in the Middle East is now being imported into Somalia and the Horn of Africa. And this is some...
Also, imagine, by the way, people are saying that this is... Do you remember Somaliland was one of the places that said that they were going to take, that they were going to be one of the ones to take in Palestinians from Gaza? How do these people think that's going to work? Israel sent a huge amount of people over, of Palestinian militants over to Yemen and... to Lebanon, and it increased relations between Hamas and, like, Shia militant Islamist movement in the case of Hezbollah. What do you think that's going to do in Gaza, sending over huge amounts of disaffected Palestinians? Like, what, are you just going to keep them in camps surveilled forever? It's not going to work. It's a terrible, horrible idea that will massively destabilize. And by the way, even the people in Somaliland who are, like, celebrating Israel doing this don't like that idea.
Thing we cannot tolerate.
Somalis are not left alone. Turkey, joined by Islamic and African nations, has denounced Israel's recognition. Constitute a grave violation of the principle of international law and the United Nations Charter, which explicitly stipulates the imperative of protect.
This is just a bad decision. This is just a very, very, very bad decision. Like, doing it before the US is crazy as well. I'm surprised that they did it before Trump did it. I assume they think that they could just lobby Trump into doing it because he is so dementia-coded. Dementia-pilled. Old and dementia-pilled Trump.
In the sovereignty of states and their territorial integrity and reflects Israel's expansionism.
When will Israel recognize the Mr. Beast Protectorate? Everyone eats... The national food is Beast Burgers!
Fully support the sovereignty of the Federal Republic of Somalia and unequivocally reject any measures that undermine the unity of Somalia, its territorial integrity, or its sovereignty over its entire territory. Even the US President Donald Trump has tempered...
Also, by the way, there's an article by Declassified UK here about how some UK MPs have been lobbying for Somaliland amid civil war. All of these people are just paid up shills for the UAE. Realise that now. You realize that now. Like, these people are just paid up shills for the Emirates. They are getting bank from the Emirates to do this crap. Tommy Robinson is paid up to meet up with the Emirati lads. They're all getting paid. Everyone is paid by the UAE. That's what's happening. Israel invented the beast burger. Cherry tomatoes us. Beast burgers us. No, bro, Chris, you don't understand. You don't get it. The Abraham Accords are going to solve the conflict. We have Mr. Beast, bro. Mr. Beast went to Dubai. But yeah, honestly, ugh.
Expectations he might follow Israel's lead. Somaliland was a former British protectorate that unilaterally announced its independence from Somalia in 1991 when the country descended into civil war. Since then, it has enjoyed relative autonomy and stability, but failed to achieve any international recognition until now.
I will say it is pretty insane how all of this anti-Somali rhetoric has ramped up from particularly a guy who's apparently just like a normal journalist who was at the Israel-Gaza border just as this happened.
As Israel seeks greater influence even beyond its traditional sphere of interest, fears grow it will bring more instability to one of the world's most fragile regions. Usman Aliyu Uba, TRT World.
Thank you, TRT World. We can watch Pieface play the darts. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of crazy looking at all of this, like looking at Somaliland's potential secession, all of this ramping up, the conflict growing between Saudi Arabia and the UAE. By the way, this is a huge border with Saudi Arabia that Saudi have invested huge amounts in here. It's quite a significant place for tourism, apparently, specifically from Sufi Muslims. It's a center of Sufi learning. I didn't really know that, but apparently Hadramaut is. Hormone therapy sounds woke to me. I've heard so, Henry. I've heard so. Mr. Least the damn touchscreen. China have also spoken out against this. China. Here's China's statement. Question. Recently, there have been changes in the situation in southern Yemen. Saudi Arabia's foreign ministry issued a statement asking this STC to stop military escalation in light of the overall interests of the people of Yemen. The UAE's foreign ministry released a statement welcoming Saudi Arabia's efforts to support security and stability in Yemen. What is China's comment? China is following the situation in southern Yemen. We call for upholding Yemen's sovereignty, unity, and territorial integrity, and hope parties will put the Yemeni people's interests first, respond to the peace efforts of regional countries, including Saudi Arabia and the UAE, and the international community, resolve differences and disputes through political dialogue in accordance with relevant UN Security Council resolutions, and the initiative of the Gulf Cooperation Council, find a solution that accommodates all parties' legitimate concerns and create conditions for restoring peace and tranquility in Yemen at an early date. China will continue to promote talks for peace in its own way and play a constructive role for the early realization of a political settlement of the Yemen issue. I mean, thank you, China, for your statement on this. Brilliant. China's statement is more clear-cut. Naturally, statements can also be negotiating tactics. I mean, China's also worried probably about Somaliland for one specific reason. Somaliland has apparently... axis of secessionists is what I need. By the way, if you want to read a little bit about Somalia, I've read this whole article a while ago. It's very good. It's about the UAE, what he calls the axis of secessionists. Andreas Krieg, brilliant author on this. He's talking about what's there. Oh, wait. What? Where's Taiwan? Hold on. Oh, wait. Sorry. I read the other thing I was reading about this was like this is just like Ashna Lobotsky. I don't know. This is just a research paper about from Israel's national security. So this is basically an Israeli military paper from really recently. I mean, it's not directly the Israeli military. But this, if you want to read this about Israel's thoughts around this, or like the thoughts of someone who's like kind of an expert in Israel, like would give you a good opinion about what the Israeli government and significant officials are thinking. But he's just talking about the INSS, which is like an Israeli military institution, basically. The Israeli National Security Institute for National Security Studies. I'm pretty sure. I'm sure it's Israel. Maybe I'm wrong. Sahan. But yeah, talking about Israel-Africa relations, very interesting. Because I'm not gonna lie, I probably completely disagree with the person's perspective. But look at this. Somaliland has also expanded its ties with other pro-Western states. Its two most strategic partners are Taiwan and the UAE. Taiwan, a global chip manufacturing powerhouse, has invested in Somaliland's rare materials and mineral sector. That's to diversify from China, by the way, which is probably why China is very concerned by this, while the UAE has heavily invested in developing the port of Berbera. For the UAE, Somaliland offers a strategic foothold in the Horn of Africa, complementing its other regional strongholds, such as Socotra Island in Yemen, Puntland, and Darfur. This is what Israel is looking to build in the region. Bad things is what Israel is looking to build in the region. And yeah, Somaliland has basically just been coming out and showing off with how pro they are of the West and Israel, and they're going to sign the Abraham Accords. But this is basically the UAE's new strategy. They're going to back secessionist movements. I wonder if Tommy Robinson has posted about Somaliland, all of a sudden giving a shit about the politics of Somalia. No, he's just posting about Somali fraud and AI slop. I assume he has actually posted about this. I can't see it, but I don't really give a shit. I don't need to read Tommy Robinson's opinion about any of this. He's an idiot. So it's East Africa's Rwanda. In what sense do you mean it's East Africa's Rwanda? In what sense, sorry? Play like smart people, but they have all really dumb assumptions from them, everything I've read. Yeah, I mean, the INSS is not going to be a great place, but if you're actually bothering to want to hear, like, what the Israeli thought around this is, and, like, what someone who has no perspective beyond strategic interests of Israel above everything else, look at that. And it's especially interesting because it came out, like, and it's not like a full academic paper, so it's seemingly quite recent, at least. It came out just a few weeks ago. I've dropped my glasses. But yeah, I'd highly recommend that you read this. It's basically just the UAE supporting secessionists. That's all it is. They just want secessionists, and that's it. The local Western gendarme. Okay, yeah. Was the building that got hit by... No, I don't think it was. I think it was the Chaim Weizmann Institute. I don't know if it was. Or the Somaliland Armed Forces and the Puntland Maritime Forces. There's an extensive underbelly of financial, logistics, trade and information networks that keep them afloat. The UAE has to get something out of it. So, but it's also like, Krieg talks about it here. The Somalia is the physical manifestation of the Horn of Africa. Its immense strategic value to global shipping routes and trade corridors into the African hinterland put the country on the UAE's radar as far back as 2010. For Abu Dhabi, Somalia has been a key focal point for its policy to generate interconnectivity and weaponized independence. For state-owned logistic giants and DP World and AD ports, it offers ideal locations for transshipment hubs, but bilateral relations between Abu Dhabi and the federal government in Mogadishu have had their ups and downs, making it an unreliable avenue to generate Emirati influence. Basically, because they don't have someone who is pro-Israel enough, who is pro-West enough in Mogadishu, they will just tear your country apart. That's what they're going to do. Oh, what? Tommy Robinson's Twitter is not just useful to find out what Mossad think. It's also incredibly useful to find out what the United Arab Emirates wants you to be thinking and feeling about things in the world. Like that's literally what it does. But yeah, also wasn't Dubai there are loads of photos of Sultan Ahmed bin Sulayem with Jeffrey Epstein. So the guy who runs this, like, who runs Dubai World, was like BFFs with Jeffrey Epstein. There's a photo of them cooking together. What does he look like he's making? And there's another photo of them together with, I don't even know what is on the board there, but something. Yeah, the UAE is establishing, is furthering Jeffrey Epstein's vision. But it's genuinely incredible. Like, yeah, like, look, they set up a group of mercenaries in the region of Puntland to hunt down pirates on land and sea. It's called the Puntland Maritime Police Force, and it was run by a UAE-based company in violation of a UN arms embargo, reported directly to the Puntland president, bypassing the sovereignty of the Somali federal government. All of these people who talk shit about Iran and them destabilizing countries, this is what I was saying to Lonabox. This is literally what I was saying to him. I said to him that, oh, why are you reporting on, like, Iran bad and all of this stuff? We're all aware Iran is like a dictatorship, that Iran does negative things. That's in the mainstream media. This is not in mainstream media. This is not regularly talked about. This is just not something that most people are even noticing. But there's a quote that goes something along the lines of, never-ending growth is the logic of cancer. Also, unfortunately, the logic of capital. Was the pic of Bubba and Trump in bed together? I don't actually know the answer to that. But yeah, basically, it's just the UAE fiddling with another country's sovereignty, tearing it apart to make money, establishing military bases in Somaliland so it can threaten Yemen and kill more civilians there. They train the Somaliland forces. They're just ruining countries all over the shop. Guys, I'm sorry this section was cut a bit short. I've just started feeling a bit rubbish, and I've still got to call that idiot Isaac. I might cover a little bit more on this tomorrow. But yeah, thank you all for watching. I'll be live again tomorrow for the last live of the year. Do you think MBS will siege the UAE like he did in Qatar? No. I don't think he will. I think Qatar is far more portrayed as an enemy of the West, but I don't think that the UAE is at that point yet, or that their relations are that bad. I mean, things going on in Sudan are terrible, and hopefully more people sort of start understanding and taking up that. But no, I don't think it'll reach that point. But yeah, I should be back on tomorrow. This has been a long stream. I'm really grateful for all you guys watching. I'll now go and plan some stuff with Isaac, and I'll see you all later. Thanks for all the watching. Thanks for all the donations. Nice to see you at the end, Sophie. Again, thank you for the 20 gifted. That was incredibly kind. I hope you have a lovely rest of the day. See you guys later. Oh my God, my nose. Oof. I don't know when this is done.